Chapter 286. The group sat in a room and waited quietly for the result of the negotiation with Chun Junjia's relative. About 3 hours later, Chun Junjia's phone finally rang. However, Chun Junjia's expression was a little ugly. Wang Heng and the others' hearts skipped a beat. When Chun Junjia hung up the phone, Wang Heng couldn't wait to ask, "Junjia, how was it? What did your relative say?" Chun Junjia took a deep breath and said with a troubled face, "My relative said that the Liu family is willing to give him face, but he has to pay a lot. 10% of the Wang family's shares might not be enough. He wants half of the Wang family's property." "What?" Wang Heng couldn't help but exclaim. "Half of our family's property?" That was a horrifying number. Even he, the head of the family, couldn't make the decision. "That's not all. The Liu family's daughter's pregnancy out of wedlock is a big scandal. It will affect her marriage in the future. Therefore, the Liu family wants the Wang family to marry the daughter of the Liu family first and then divorce her." This, Wang Heng's face instantly turned pale. If the daughter of the Liu family was married, the Wang family's reputation would be ruined. Moreover, Chun Junjia went to the relative and asked for half of the Wang family's property. This was simply unacceptable for the Wang family. Jin Wenwen and Wang Dongxing's faces were also pale. They thought that as long as the Wang family gave out 10% of the shares, the matter would be solved. They didn't expect this to happen. "Uncle Wang, I've tried my best," Chun Junjia said. "Yes, Uncle Wang. I think we should agree to the request of Junjia's relative. Otherwise, the Wang family will not only lose half of the property, but also go bankrupt." And Shaoran persuaded. The others fell into silence. Although it was unacceptable for the Wang family, it was obvious that there was no other way. Wang Heng was about to speak when Li Changsheng suddenly said, "Actually, I have some connections. I can settle the Liu family's matter." "You?" Instantly, all eyes fell on Li Changsheng. "Dongsheng, who is this?" Confusion appeared in Wang Heng's eyes. Although Wang Dongsheng had introduced Li Changsheng and the others to him, he was so confused that he didn't listen at all. "He's the combat coach of my school. Coach Li, what can you do?" Wang Heng seemed to have grabbed onto a life-saving straw. It wasn't easy for the Wang family to develop to this point. If they took out half of their assets, the company wouldn't be able to continue operating. If there was a better solution, it would be great. Ning Xian, Su Yang, and the others also looked confused. Could it be that Li Changsheng really has a way? Otherwise, why would he repeatedly say that he can settle the Liu family's matter? Actually, it's very simple to deal with the Liu family. As long as there's an even more powerful figure pressuring the Liu family, they definitely won't dare to threaten the Wang family anymore. Hearing Li Changsheng's words, Chun Junjia and the others were speechless. Isn't that obvious? But where could he find such a powerful person? It wasn't easy for Chun Junjia to find one, yet he's still asking for so much. However, Wang Heng seemed to have seen his savior. He asked anxiously, "So, Changsheng, you know someone important? Changsheng, what does your family do?" In his opinion, Li Changsheng must have an extraordinary background if he dared to say such big words. "I'm just a student. My parents are both dead. I'm from the countryside. However, I do know some people. With their power, the Liu family in the northwest wouldn't dare to disrespect them. I'm from the countryside, a student." Hearing this, Wang Heng's heart sank to the bottom. As for what he said about knowing some important people, he thought it was ridiculous. What kind of important people could a student know? On the other side, Su Jing pulled Li Changsheng's sleeve and whispered, "Changsheng, don't say any more. I know you have an unusual relationship with the principal of Qingzhou University, Chen Ligua. However, Chen Ligua may have some power in Qingzhou, but he can't get involved in matters in Suzhou." In Su Jing's impression, Li Changsheng entered the school through the back door and had a good relationship with the principal, Chen Ligua. However, Chen Ligua was just a principal of a university. How much power could he have in this society? Moreover, this was the Northwest. She couldn't help but feel disappointed. Li Changsheng's vision was too narrow. He didn't understand the horror of those business tycoons. A principal was nothing at all. Hearing Su Jing's words, Chun Junjia's eyes were filled with disdain. The others present couldn't help but shake their heads. "I thought I found a savior. I didn't expect that he's just a kid talking nonsense. Wang Heng couldn't help but sigh. I'm really desperate. I actually believe Li Changxing's words just now. Junjie, can you talk to your relative and see if the reward could be reduced? As an elder, Wang Heng's tone towards Chun Junjie was already somewhat pleading. Chun Junjie shook his head. I'm afraid not. The other party is very determined. What should we do? Wang Heng was already in despair. Half of the Wang family's assets was too much. If there's no other way, let's break up. Jin Wenwen suddenly spoke. As long as we break up and you marry Miss Lu, everything will be solved. This, Wang Dongxing's face was full of pain. Wang Heng and his son Wang Dongshu looked at each other. Indeed, compared with face, half of the Wang family's assets were more important. Marrying Miss Lu was nothing more than a disgrace. Even if Miss Lu gave birth to a son, she couldn't be so shameless as to let her son take the surname Wang. They weren't satisfied with such a daughter-in-law, but the Wang family's assets were saved. It seems that I can only sacrifice your happiness. I'm sorry. Wang Heng bowed to Jin Wenwen. With tears in her eyes, Jin Wenwen hurriedly helped Wang Heng up. Uncle Wang can't blame you. If you want to blame someone, blame Miss Lu for being too shameless. Originally, Li Changxing didn't want to care about the Wang family because they didn't believe him. But seeing Jin Wenwen like this, and Wang Dongsheng who was squatting on the ground and scratching his hair, he finally sighed. Forget it. After all, he's my student. You don't have to worry. I'll help you solve this. Give me 10 minutes. With that, Li Changxing took out his phone and walked into the inner room. 10 minutes? Chun Junjie had already sneered. His relative was so powerful that they only got such a result after 3 hours of discussion. But the other party said that he could solve it in 10 minutes. Wasn't that ridiculous? Su Jing also turned her head aside. She suddenly felt a little disappointed. Just now, she had already told him that Chun Li's relationship wasn't good, but he didn't believe it. Thinking about it carefully, after knowing Li Changsheng, he became arrogant and conceited. In the past, he could crush others all the way in martial arts. His personality seemed normal, but now it seemed a little ridiculous. Such a person is useless in other aspects except for martial arts. I actually admire him so much. Su Jing shook her head. On the other side, and Xiaoran had already chuckled, not hiding her sarcasm. Although Ningxin didn't show it, there was a strange look in her eyes. As for Wang Heng and Wang Dongsheng, they didn't have any hope for Li Changxing at all. Instead, they looked at Chun Junjie. Junjie, please tell your friend that the Wang family accepts our fate. Wang Heng took a deep breath and said, Okay. Chun Junjie looked a little unhappy. The Wang family members had almost believed Li Changsheng just now. Was it easy for them to find such connections? At this time, the door of the villa was suddenly pushed open, and then a group of people rushed in. Wang Dongsheng, I heard that you've been looking for connections everywhere to not marry me. You really have the guts of a leopard. Believe it or not, I'll make all your Wang family members fall into the streets. A woman with a big belly walked in angrily, followed by several middle-aged men. Wang Heng and the others' faces changed dramatically in an instant. The woman was none other than Lu Xueping, the eldest daughter of the Lu family. Chapter 287. Wang Dongsheng, I heard that you have been asking people to pull strings to refuse to marry me. A seductively dressed woman with thick makeup on her face walked in aggressively. She pointed her finger at Wang Dongxing's nose and questioned him loudly. That's right, Lu Xueping. You are pregnant with someone else's bastard. He dumped you after he got tired of you. Why do you want me to marry you? Wang Dongsheng was furious, very furious. He had been together with Jin Wenwen and had brought her home to meet his parents today. After graduating from college, they could be together. But now, because of this shameless woman, he and Jin Wenwen were facing a breakup, and the whole Wang family was gloomy. How could he not hate her? Wang Dongsheng, don't forget that you and I are engaged. As long as you marry me, you will have an obedient and cute baby in a few months. You will make a fortune. How shameless. How can you be so shameless? And Xiaoran couldn't help but jump out. Who do you think you are? How dare you jump out and scold me? Lu Xueping glared at Xiaoran. You don't feel ashamed at all. You did have an engagement with Brother Dongsheng, but your Lu family has already backed out. You thought that you had hooked up with a top young master in the Northwest, so you tried to seduce him. You didn't expect that you would be kicked out by him in the end. Now you shamelessly ask Brother Dongsheng to marry you. How shameless are you? And Shaoran pointed at Lu Xueping's nose and shouted. Lu Xueping reached out and slapped her across the face. Slap. And Shaoran, who do you think you are? How dare you talk to me like that? I heard that your father is negotiating a real estate project recently. Don't forget that the project is developed by our Lu family. Lu Xueping's words hit in Shaoran's soft spot. The Lu family was too powerful in the Northwest. Even the richest man in Suzhou had to show some respect to them. And Shaoran, Ningxin, Chun Junjie, and the others were only considered millionaires in Suzhou. They were absolutely incomparable to the Lu family. The Lu family could crush them with a finger. Otherwise, the Wang family wouldn't be so distressed. And Shaoran, who was slapped by Lu Xueping, covered her cheek. Her eyes were full of anger, but she didn't dare to resist. Ningxin pulled Shaoran aside and comforted her in a low voice. At this moment, Wang Heng sighed and stood out. Miss Lu, there was indeed an engagement between the two of you back then, and it has never been canceled. Since you insist on marrying my Dongsheng, Uncle can only agree. Hearing Wang Heng's words, Jin Wenwen and Wang Dongsheng both showed despair in their eyes. However, Lu Xueping sneered. Ha! Your family is doing everything possible to prevent me from entering your family. Do you really think that no one wants me? Even if you beg to marry me, I won't agree. Hearing Lu Xueping's words, Wang Heng, Wang Dongsheng, and the others were all delighted. Lu Xueping not marrying into the Wang clan was something they were most happy to see. Ha! Don't be happy too early. Although this young miss has decided not to marry your son, your Wang family has thoroughly angered me. Just wait for my Lu family's revenge. In less than 3 years, I will definitely make your Wang family live on the streets and beg for a living. Ha ha. Hearing Lu family's young miss's words, everyone's faces turned ugly once again. What should we do? Miss Lu, can't you be merciful and let our Wang family go? Wang Heng's tone was already begging. However, Lu Xueping turned her head to the side with a teasing look in her eyes. What should we do? At this moment, Wang Dongsheng looked at Chun Junjie. Junjie, ask your relatives to plead for mercy. Our Wang family is willing to give half of our assets. Yes, Junjie, Uncle agrees to give half of our assets as a reward. Wang Heng's eyes were also filled with hope. Now he could only count on Chun Junjie. On the other side, Lu Xueping only sneered. Okay, I'll call him and ask him to plead for mercy. Chun Junjie dialed the number, but after he finished speaking, his face suddenly turned pale. After hanging up the phone, he smiled bitterly and shook his head. Uncle Wang, that noble is not willing to help anymore. He said that if we were willing to take out half of the wealth, he would reluctantly help. But now, our hesitation has made him very angry, so he has decided not to help anymore. What? Hearing this news, everyone in the Wang family felt as if they had been struck by lightning. At this moment, Li Changsheng, who had just finished his phone call, came out of the inner room. He wasn't surprised to see these extra people. With his hearing, he naturally heard the conversation outside. He raised his head to look at the young miss of the Lu family and said coldly, "You're the one with a big belly who insisted on marrying someone else?" Hearing Li Changsheng's words, Miss Lu raised her eyebrows. Where did this bumpkin come from? How dare you talk to me like this? I think you're really a lady. Otherwise, you wouldn't have been kicked by someone when you were pregnant. You're courting death. Lu Xueping was furious. She raised her hand and was about to slap Li Changsheng's face. However, before his palm could land, Li Changsheng reached out and grabbed his wrist. Then, he slapped him with a backhand. Slap! A clear handprint appeared on the left side of Miss Lu's face. How dare you hit me? Lu Xueping was completely furious. With her identity as the miss of the Lu family, someone actually dared to hit her. Su Jing and the others were secretly delighted. They had long found this Lu family's eldest daughter an eyesore. Li Changsheng did what they wanted to do, but didn't. However, Wang Heng and the others didn't show any joy. Instead, their faces changed at the same time. If he hit the young miss of the Liu family, there would be no room for reconciliation. Li Changsheng didn't stop after one slap. Instead, he waved his hand and slapped the other party's face 5 or 6 times consecutively, causing both sides of the Liu family's eldest daughter's face to swell up. She was instantly stunned on the spot. At this time, Liu Xueping's subordinates finally reacted. They rushed toward Li Changsheng. Li Changsheng threw Liu Xueping aside and waved his fist like a tiger rushing into a flock of sheep. The Liu family's bodyguards only practiced some taekwondo. How could they beat Li Changsheng's opponent? They were beaten to the ground by Li Changsheng in a few punches and kicks. One of the bodyguards was scared out of his wits and stumbled out of the door. Li Changsheng was about to chase after him when he heard Wang Heng shout, "Enough!" Only then did Li Changsheng stop what he was doing and turn his head to reveal a puzzled expression. Wang Heng smiled bitterly. "Changsheng, you're not helping our Wang family by doing this. You're harming us." "What do you mean?" Li Changsheng furrowed his brows. Before Wang Heng could speak, Chen Junjie couldn't help but speak. "Li Changsheng, do you know what you've done?" At that time, it was because you said you could help the Wang family that Uncle Wang hesitated. In the end, the big shot I invited was angry and unwilling to help the Wang family. Now, you've even hit Miss Liu. This is the only way out for the Wang family. I want to ask you, does the Wang family have a grudge against you? How could you harm the Wang family in Dongsheng? Hearing Chen Junjie's words, Wang Heng sat down on the chair. This was actually what he wanted to ask, but he was too embarrassed to ask. Li Changsheng seemed to be helping the Wang family, but in his opinion, he was simply a reckless brat who didn't know the immensity of heaven and earth. Instead, he harmed the Wang family. Wang Dongsheng lowered his head. He respected Li Changsheng very much, but at this moment, he couldn't help but feel a little disappointed. Su Jing also shook her head. Li Changsheng's slaps on Liu Xueping's face were indeed satisfying, but now it seemed that this was a reckless action without considering the consequences. No matter how good Li Changsheng's kung fu was, he could only be a martial artist. It was difficult for him to achieve great things in today's society. As for Ningxin, Su Yang, Lin Kuan, and the others, their eyes were cold as they looked at Li Changsheng. They felt that he simply couldn't do anything right. And Shaoran was slapped by Liu Xueping just now, and Li Changsheng helped her slap back. In her heart, she still had a good impression of Li Changsheng. However, when she thought of the disaster that Li Changsheng's action would bring to the Wang family, that good impression immediately disappeared. She was slapped just now, but she only lowered her head and admitted defeat. First, her family was indeed a little afraid of the Liu family. Second, she was actually afraid of intensifying the conflict between the Wang family and the Liu family. Li Changsheng really didn't consider the consequences and was too impulsive. Actually, when I went in just now, I already called someone to help me deal with the Liu family. Don't worry, a mere Liu family is nothing. Li Changsheng took in everyone's expressions. Although they didn't understand and were a little disappointed, he understood that the Liu family was perhaps an unattainable mountain to them. Deal with the Liu family? This is the funniest joke I've ever heard. Chen Junjie snorted coldly. I really feel sorry for Wang Dongsheng to have a friend like you. The others also sneered. Wang Heng hurriedly went to help Liu Xueping and kept apologizing. Miss Liu, are you okay? Get lost. Liu Xueping pushed Wang Heng to the side, her eyes filled with hatred. At this time, a sudden rush of footsteps came from outside. Then, a middle-aged man came in with a group of subordinates. Who dares to hit my daughter? I think you don't want to live anymore. As the voice came, Wang Heng's face turned pale and his body trembled. Just by hearing the voice, one could tell that it was Liu Xueping's father, the head of the Liu family. Chapter 288. When the head of the Liu family walked in, everyone's expression changed. A person's reputation was like a tree's shadow. The Liu family had started their business in Suzhou, and their business had expanded to several nearby provinces. They were extremely wealthy, and a small family like the Wang family could not compare to them. Your Wang family is really bold. You even dared to hit my daughter. Looks like I have to teach you a lesson that you will never forget." As soon as he finished speaking, the bodyguards behind him immediately rushed in and surrounded everyone present. "Boss Liu, back then, our families were in good terms, so we decided on an infant marriage. But now, the strength of our families has long been unequal. Over the years, you have repeatedly expressed in public that the Liu family and the Wang family are no longer compatible. Why must you marry your daughter to our Wang family?" Wang Heng stood out and said, "Haha, Wang Heng, you're not stupid. Can't you see that it doesn't matter whether my daughter is married or not? What's important is that I want the Wang family's assets. Back then, Mr. Bei Chun called me to plead for mercy. In the end, he asked for half of the Wang family's assets. Actually, I was the one who asked for it. Recently, our Liu family has been having some financial difficulties. Coincidentally, half of the Wang family's assets is enough to fill this gap. Unfortunately, you did not agree to Mr. Bei Chen's request. Now, I'll give you two choices. First, take out half of the Wang family's assets to avoid disaster. Second, your Wang family will go bankrupt and live on the streets. There was a third option, which was for my daughter to marry into the Wang family. From then on, the Wang family and my Liu family will become in-laws. The Wang family will help my Liu family to fill the gap. Unfortunately, this is obviously impossible." As soon as Liu Deben finished speaking, he looked at Wang Heng coldly, waiting for his reply. Wang Heng hesitated for a moment. Just as he was about to nod his head, a voice rang out. "Actually, there's a fourth option. That is for your Liu family to take out half of your assets to compensate the Wang family." Everyone turned around and saw Li Changsheng speaking calmly. "What did you say?" Liu Deben's eyes turned cold. Li Changsheng hit his daughter. He did not even have the time to settle the score with Li Changsheng. Now that the other party had stood out, he was simply courting death. Hearing Li Changsheng's words, Wang Heng's face was filled with despair. It was Li Changsheng again. At this moment, Wang Heng had already viewed Li Changsheng as a jinx. Ning Xian and Xiaoran, Chun Junjie, and the others were shaking their heads. The way they saw it, Li Changsheng was clearly courting death, and he was even dragging the Wang family down with him. Even Su Jing, Wang Dongsheng, and the others were disappointed. This Li Changsheng really didn't have good eyesight. "Do you know who you're talking to?" Liu Deben signaled with his eyes, and several of his subordinates were already closing in on Li Changsheng. "Of course I know," Li Changsheng said coldly, "but I'm just afraid that you don't know who you're talking to. Since I've already interfered in the Wang clan's matter, if your Liu clan doesn't want your entire clan to end up on the streets tomorrow, then immediately take your stupid daughter and scram." When these words were spoken, the entire place fell into silence. This is too arrogant. He's simply courting death. Liu Deben was instantly enraged. Just as he was about to order his bodyguards to take Li Changsheng down, his phone suddenly rang. He signaled his subordinates to not rush into action and pressed the answer button with a respectful look on his face. "Hello, Director Zhu." Li Changsheng was calling Zhu Dapeng at that moment. Zhu Dapeng was still very influential in the Northwest. Originally, it would have been faster for him to call Qi Yu or Su Xiaolin. However, Su Xiaolin and Qi Yu's background was too big, and this Liu clan head would probably be scared to death. Li Changsheng didn't want Wang Dongsheng and the others to know his true identity. Otherwise, they would subconsciously distance themselves from him, just like Yang Fan and the others in the dormitory. Although Zhu Dapeng was quite famous, he wasn't as scary as Su Xiaolin and Qi Yu. At this moment, Liu Deben, who was answering the phone, couldn't help but glance at Li Changsheng cautiously. As soon as he hung up the phone, his hands began to tremble. He wanted to say something, but Li Changsheng snorted coldly and said, "The Wang family is my people. Do you remember that?" "Yes, I remember." Liu Deben changed his previous arrogant and despotic attitude and bowed to Li Changsheng. Li Changsheng waved his hand disdainfully. Then, under the surprised and puzzled eyes of everyone, Liu Deben really ordered his subordinates, "Leave with me." Liu Xueping, the eldest daughter of the Liu family, cried out discontentedly, "Dad, the daughter was beaten." You haven't avenged her yet. Shut up. Lu Debin slapped his daughter's face and roared, I'll deal with you when we get back. After that, he gave Li Changsheng a flattering smile and hurriedly left with his subordinates. Soon, they were all gone. The others in the villa were dumbfounded. What's going on? After a long time, Su Jing was the first to ask, How did you do it? Wang Heng and the others were also curious. They originally thought that a disaster was coming, but they didn't expect that it would be solved so easily. Li Changsheng didn't lie to them. He really solved the problem. Over there, Chun Junjia's face was the most unsightly. He had been calling for a long time, but he didn't expect that the other party was actually in cahoots with Lu Debin. Thinking of his merciless ridicule of Li Changsheng at that time, he only felt his face burning. Although the Lu family has some power in the Northwest, there are many people who are more powerful than the Lu family, and I happen to know one. Li Changsheng said casually. At that time, everyone didn't believe him, which made him feel a little uncomfortable. Although he had lived for thousands of years, he was still a man of flesh and blood. As long as he was a man, he had 7 emotions and 6 desires. If he was trusted, he would be happy, but if he was misunderstood, he would be sad. Seeing Li Changsheng's attitude, Su Jing suddenly realized something. She looked a little wronged, thinking, How can we know if you don't tell us clearly? Wang Heng had already come up and held Li Changsheng's hand excitedly. Changsheng depends on you. Otherwise, our Wang family will be finished. Wang Dongsheng also walked up to Li Changsheng with Jin Wenwen and said, Coach Li, I'm sorry. I misunderstood you. Thank you. Li Changsheng smiled and didn't say anything. At this time, and Sharon also came over. Her face was slapped by Lu Xueping, and now it was slightly red and swollen. She looked at Li Changsheng curiously and took the initiative to reach out her slender hand. Li Changsheng, I didn't expect you to know such a powerful person. You helped the Wang family out. Now I've decided to be friends with you officially. Unexpectedly, facing her slender hand, Li Changsheng didn't reach out his hand to shake hers. He just smiled. Everyone has a few friends. It's not a big deal. You don't have to care too much. As he spoke, he looked at the others. I'm a little tired. I want to take a rest. After that, he walked to the guest room next to him, leaving the people in the hall looking at each other, especially in Shaoran, whose outstretched hand froze in the air. She was a little embarrassed. In the end, she couldn't help but snort. What's the point of being arrogant? You just happen to know someone who can make the Lu family afraid. What's so great about that? At this time, Su Jing suddenly thought of something. Right. I remember the rumor in the school that Li Changsheng has a good relationship with Chu Ming, the eldest daughter of the Chu family. He must have asked the Chu family to make Lu Debin give in. The Chu family? The Chu family that ranks first in Qingzhou? Wang Heng was confused. Yes, I see. Wang Heng seemed to have finally understood something. Although the Chu family dominates Qingzhou, they have a wide network of connections. The Lu family also has a lot of businesses around Qingzhou in recent years. It's understandable why the Lu family acted like that after receiving a phone call. They probably don't want their businesses to be suppressed by the Chu family. After all, a strong dragon can't suppress a local snake. Moreover, compared to the Chu family, the Lu family is nothing. The Chu family is a dragon, while the Lu family is at most a snake. So he relied on a woman to live off her. I thought he had a strong background. Chun Junjie said in a strange tone, and Shaoran also curled her lips. That's right. What's so awesome about him? He has so much power on his own. That's what's so great about relying on a woman. As if knowing that Li Changsheng didn't rely on his own power, but on the help of others, many people felt better. No matter what, Changsheng saved our Wang family. He's our benefactor. Wang Heng looked at his son, Wang Dongsheng. He's your coach, which means he's your teacher. I've decided to give him 3% of the Wang family's shares. 3%. Many people in the room opened their eyes wide. 3%. With the assets of the Wang family, it was a few million. Besides, they could get dividends every year. It was definitely not a small amount. This made Chun Junjie and the others jealous. How great would it be if I were the one who helped the Wang family? Su Jing thought that if Li Changsheng got 3% of the shares, he wouldn't be a poor coach anymore. He could be considered a millionaire. At this moment, Li Changsheng, who was in the bedroom, heard every word of the conversation outside. He finally felt a little better. The Wang family still has a conscience. Chapter 289. The Wang family went from hell to heaven. They spent the whole day in excitement. Early the next morning, Wang Heng and his two sons came to thank Li Changsheng in person. At the same time, they also apologized to him. He apologized for not trusting Li Changsheng at the beginning and offered to give him 3% of the Wang family shares. However, Li Changsheng refused directly. He was not short of money. Besides, he helped Wang Dongsheng because Jin Wenwen and Wang Dongsheng were his students. Seeing Li Changsheng's refusal, the Wang family was even more touched. Li Changsheng kept a low profile and did not like money. Compared to Chen Junjie, he was much better. Yesterday, Chen Junjie said that he wanted to increase the property by 10%. Later, he said he wanted half. Everyone in the Wang family knew that besides the relative Chen Junjie mentioned, Chen Junjie also had a share. You guys come back and stay for a few days. I will return to Qingzhou tomorrow. Li Changsheng said. There was something he was waiting for in Qingzhou. Coach, why are you in such a hurry? I wanted you to stay for a few more days so that you can be the host, Wang Dongsheng said reluctantly. By the way, Coach Li, there's a banquet held by the upper class tonight. I heard that there will be a mysterious guest. Do you want to go? I happen to have tickets here. Wang Heng took out a few tickets as if he was presenting a treasure. With the status of the Wang family in Suzhou, only the head of the family, Wang Heng, was qualified to attend such a banquet. He had used a lot of connections to get so many tickets. Li Changsheng wanted to refuse, but seeing Jin Wenwen, Su Jing, and the others' interested eyes, he finally nodded. He did not want to spoil everyone's fun. He had nothing to do anyway. Is there anything special about this banquet? Li Changsheng asked casually. Of course. This banquet will not only be attended by the top business tycoons, rich young masters, and socialites, but also a big shot. What big shot? Not only Li Changsheng, but also Wang Dongsheng and the others' eyes lit up. Yesterday, the head of the Liu family, Liu Deben, had been scared witless by Li Changsheng's phone call. Since Wang Heng said that it was a big shot, then it must be much higher than him. It said that it's the sickly tiger Qi Yu's son, Qi Xian. That sickly tiger of the north, Qi Yu, the eldest son of the Qi family? Everyone's body trembled at once. The sickly tiger Qi Yu and Su Xiaolin were known as the two great mountains of the north. His young master was definitely a big shot among big shots. Coach Li, we have to go and see what these top-notch playboys are like. Su Jing was no longer calm. Li Changsheng smiled faintly. So it's the son of an old friend. When Wang Dongxing's car stopped under a tall building, Li Changsheng saw Chen Junjie's Lincoln minibus, Lin Kuen's BMW 5 Series, and Ning Xian's Audi TT. They also got out of the car and came over to greet him. You're here for the banquet too? Are you here to witness first young Master Qi's elegance? Lin Kuen said excitedly. The son of the sickly tiger Qi Yu is not someone that ordinary people could meet. If they could take a photo or drink with Qi Xian today, they could brag about it in the future. And Sharon had a grudge against Li Changsheng. After getting out of the car, she pulled a long face and kept a distance from Li Changsheng. Ning Xian, on the other hand, was curious about Li Changsheng. She looked Li Changsheng up and down. Su Yang said proudly, You're here to see the son of the sickly tiger Qi Yu, but I'm here to see my goddess, Miss Dongfian. Lin Kuen patted Su Yang's shoulder. The Dong family's eldest daughter is a golden phoenix on a branch. There are a sea of people pursuing her. Don't worry. But in Shaoran, Ningxin is so beautiful. If you put in some effort, maybe she will fall for you. And Shaoran and Ning Xian were really good looking. It was not that Lin Kuen didn't have any thoughts, but they were too close. It would be too awkward if he was rejected. Especially Ning Xian, who had a tranquil temperament. I also want to pursue her, but in Shaoran is like a little sister. As for Ning Xian, I'm afraid she won't like me. Su Yang looked in the direction of Li Changsheng. Sure enough, after getting out of the car, Ning Xian's gaze fell on Li Changsheng. She went back and thought about yesterday's matter. She felt that Li Changsheng was not as simple as he seemed. Of course, it was impossible for her to have any feelings for Li Changsheng. She was just a little curious. Su Yang, don't belittle yourself. If Sister Ning Xian likes someone else's son, you definitely won't have a chance. But this guy is not worthy of Sister Ning Xian. And Xiaoran, who already had a problem with Li Changsheng, attacked him mercilessly. The others were a little embarrassed, and Xiaoran said it so directly, which hurt their pride. All right, everyone go in. Don't delay outside. Wang Dongsheng hurried to smooth things over. After yesterday's matter, he was very respectful of Li Changsheng. But from the bottom of his heart, although Li Changsheng knew the Chu family, it did not represent his background. Li Changsheng had already said that his family background was very ordinary. Although Ning Xian was just an ordinary second-generation rich, she was very capable and had a unique temperament. The person she would marry in the future would definitely be at the level of the richest man in Suzhou, or even higher. There was indeed no possibility of her liking Li Changsheng. They entered the building. After the security checked the invitation, they went straight to the innermost part. Today's banquet was held by the richest man in Suzhou to welcome Qi Xian, the young master. Along the way to the innermost part, they saw many gorgeously dressed women holding wine glasses and chatting with young or middle-aged successful people. Wang Dongsheng explained, "These are young models who are using this as an excuse to get to know high-ranking officials and nobles. There are also some third-rate stars in the entertainment industry. In order to climb up the social ladder, these people use their bodies as capital. As long as they have the money, they can take one home after the banquet." Hearing Wang Dongsheng's words, Su Yang and the others, who had some appreciation for these women, instantly lost interest. Wei Hu even muttered, "I thought they were all rich young ladies." As for Li Changsheng, he was indifferent from beginning to end. These women were gorgeously dressed with heavy makeup, but in his eyes, there was only one word to describe them: vulgar. Moreover, Su Jing, Ning Xian, and even Xiaoran's temperament was many times stronger than theirs. Ning Xian had been observing Li Changsheng. Seeing Li Changsheng's indifference, she could not help but be slightly surprised. Either Li Changsheng was a saint who could sit still and see women as skeletons, or he was used to such scenes, which made her more and more curious about Li Changsheng. Chapter 290. Isn't this young Master Chun? A surprised voice came from afar. A middle-aged man walked over with a glass of wine and shook hands with Chun Junjie. Chun Junjie smiled and introduced him to everyone. "This is the general manager of Zhengyang Group." Wang Dongsheng, Lin Kuan, and the others were all surprised. Zhengyang Group was quite a big company in Suzhou. They had only been studying and fooling around all these years. They had only heard of their name, but had never seen them in person. They didn't expect them to be so close to Qin Junjie. After the man left, and Xiaoran couldn't wait to ask, "Brother Junjie, you also play with us every day. Why do you seem to be so close to him?" "I started my own business a year ago. It's inevitable for me to interact with these bosses." As soon as he said that, everyone looked at Qin Junjie in a different light. Qin Junjie was only in his first year of university. He had already started his own company. Compared to them who only knew how to eat, drink, and play, he was much better. "Young Master Chun, you're here." Before the surprise on everyone's faces faded, another middle-aged man walked over. Along the way, 8 people greeted Qin Junjie as he walked in from the outside. Qin Junjie couldn't help but look proud. This was networking. Qin Junjie had been praised for his talent in business since he was young. It wasn't obvious when everyone was playing around, but in a formal occasion like this, it was obvious that he was different from the rest. "Junjie, you're really good at hiding your skills." Even Wang Dongsheng praised him from the bottom of his heart. Even he, although not a rich kid, was addicted to fighting. Compared to Qin Junjie, there was a certain gap. After entering the innermost part, Qin Junjie was like a fish in water. Even the real bosses of Suzhou took the initiative to greet him with a smile. Ning Xin, who had been looking at Li Changsheng, couldn't help but look away. She realized that Chun Junjie seemed to have many secrets as well. My dad is here too. I'll go take a look first, Ning Xin said to the crowd and then rushed to the center. They didn't come to the party just to have fun. They had another mission, which was to make friends at the party. A beauty with a temperament like Ning Xin was definitely very popular. We're going to. Although Shaoran had a carefree personality, as the daughter of a rich family, she still had some responsibilities. Soon, Su Yang, Lin Kuan, Chun Junjie, and the rest bid their farewells and left. Wang Dongsheng stayed by Li Changsheng's side the whole time. If it were any other time, Wang Dongsheng would naturally follow his father to toast those successful people and make some friends. These people would become members of his network in the future, which would be very beneficial to the development of the company's business. However, it was clear that Li Changsheng's importance had surpassed these people. Li Changsheng was the Wang family's benefactor. You should also accompany Uncle Wang to get to know these aristocratic families. This is a very good opportunity. Don't waste it. Li Changsheng naturally understood the importance of such a high-end cocktail party to the Wang family. Wang Dongsheng hesitated. Don't worry, we can walk around on our own, Li Changsheng said again. All right. So Wang Dongsheng held Jin Wenwen's hand and walked to the center of the party. Only Li Changsheng, Su Jing, and Wei who were left. Wei was a burly guy. Standing there, he was very imposing and attracted a lot of attention. However, those aristocratic ladies naturally didn't like a burly man like Wei Hu. As for Li Changsheng, because of his habits, he didn't change into formal clothes. In addition, his appearance was also ordinary, so it was difficult for him to attract attention. Su Jing, on the other hand, had specially dressed up today. Coupled with her beautiful appearance, there were young masters coming to toast her from time to time. However, because Su Jing wasn't from Suzhou, no one knew her identity. Many people thought that she was a woman who came to curry favor with those small models and third-rate stars. Sometimes, their gazes and words were quite strange. At first, Su Jing felt that it was quite refreshing. These young masters were quite gentlemanly and polite. However, she soon discovered the difference, and her face turned cold. Sitting next to Li Changsheng, she said angrily, "Am I so unbearable? They actually thought of me as that kind of person." Huh? Li Changsheng smiled. Su Jing wasn't happy. What are you laughing at? Are you laughing at me? Humph. At least I'm better than you. In any case, I have so many men come and toast me. This shows that I'm still charming. But you, sitting here like a fool, only knowing how to eat. You're like a reincarnated hungry ghost. Not a single girl came to talk to you. Those small models are all far away from you. It's really sad to be like you. She didn't know why, but since yesterday, Su Jing didn't like Li Changsheng. In fact, the main reason was that she didn't believe in Li Changsheng at first. However, Li Changsheng helped Wang Dongsheng solve the problem, which made her lose face in front of Li Changsheng. Wei Hu was wolfing down the cake. When he heard Su Jing's words, he hurriedly put down the cake in his hand. He felt that these two people were quarreling and he was an innocent bystander. Seeing Wei Hu's silly look, Su Jing couldn't help but laugh out loud. Li Changsheng knew that Su Jing didn't mean any harm, so he didn't argue with her. The eldest daughter of the Dong family, Dong Fian, is here. Exclamations came from the crowd. A dazzling woman in a red dress walked over leisurely, attracting everyone's attention. The eldest daughter of the Dong family, Dong Fian, was not only beautiful, but also had a high status. It could be said that other than the eldest son of the chief family, her status was the highest. Su Yang, look at Dong Fian. Don't you like her? Hurry up and get to know her. Lin Kuan and Su Yang were standing together. When they saw Dong Fian appear, they hurriedly said to Su Yang. Unexpectedly, Su Yang raised his foot and stepped back. What's wrong? Hurry up and go. Lin Kuan said anxiously. Su Yang smiled bitterly. I better not go. Look at the people around Dong Fian. They are all the top young masters of our Suzhou. Even so, Dong Fian just casually dealt with them. She clearly doesn't want to talk to them. If I go up, I'll just be cannon fodder. Hearing Su Yang's words, Lin Kuan took a look. Wasn't it true? Everyone around Dong Fian was worth more than them, but they didn't seem to be able to attract Dong Fian's attention. This friend of his was really unlucky. Then you should give it a try. Maybe Dong Fian likes your type. Although Lin Kuan said this, he was actually just comforting his friend. Su Yang smiled and said to himself, I'm satisfied just looking at her from afar. She's like a cloud in the sky. I'll never be able to catch up with her. On the other side, Su Jing was a little indignant. This eldest daughter of the Dong family is so popular, but I don't see her appearance that is much better than mine. Indeed, Su Jing's appearance was not inferior to Dong Fian's. Unfortunately, in this kind of occasion, there were many beautiful people. Those small models and third-rate stars were all good-looking. Most importantly, Dong Fian's identity was the most important. In today's Northwest region, Dong Fian contributed greatly to the rise of the Dong family. Yesterday, I heard them say that Dong Fian used to be ordinary, but since she met Mr. Li, she soared to the sky. Mr. Li is really not ordinary. Why am I not as lucky as her to meet Mr. Wang and Mr. Zhang? Su Jing was a little envious. Which woman didn't want to be dazzling and praised by thousands? It was a woman's nature to love beauty. Being recognized by everyone would give them a sense of satisfaction. Although vanity wasn't a good word, it existed in everyone's bones and couldn't be denied. Chapter 291. Dong Fian was surrounded like a moon surrounded by stars. However, she didn't seem to have a good impression of these rich second generations who rushed to get close to her. Several famous businessmen in Suzhou were also very respectful to Dong Fian. Dong Fian was socializing with these people. Su Yang, under Lin Kuan's encouragement, finally gathered his courage and walked to Dong Fian's side. He stuttered and said, Miss Dong, can I propose a toast to you? Dong Fian seemed to be amused by Su Yang's shy appearance. She smiled and nodded. Okay. The two clinked glasses. Su Yang originally wanted to take a photo with Dong Fian, but because he was too nervous, he didn't say anything. A few minutes later, he returned to his previous position and excitedly said to Lin Kuan, I clinked glasses with the goddess in my heart. She even smiled at me. Yes. Lin Kuan also gave Su Yang a thumbs up. You're good. I told you to listen to me, otherwise you'll have regrets. It's a pity that Dong Fian's status is too high. Today, I don't know how many young elites want to invite her to dance. Otherwise, if you had the chance to dance with her, it would definitely be an unforgettable memory for you. Yes. Su Yang nodded. But people should be content. I'm already satisfied to be able to be in close contact with the Dong family. There are so many young masters, but Dong Fian is cold to them. Let's go. We'll go take a look at Li Changsheng. They are friends of Dong Sheng. You see, they don't know many people at the banquet. As the host, we should greet them on behalf of Dong Sheng. Hearing Su Yang's words, Lin Kuan nodded. Lin Kuan and Su Yang walked to Su Jing's side and saw Chun Junjie walking over. Chun Junjie liked Su Jing. This was something everyone knew. Chun Junjie walked in front of Su Jing and very gentlemanly reached out his hand and said, Su Jing, can I invite you to dance? Su Jing originally didn't have a good impression of Chun Junjie. However, since coming to the banquet, Chun Junjie showed his strong connections. Compared to her current situation, where she was ignored, Chun Junjie's power seemed to be more prominent. She then looked at Li Changsheng, who was standing next to her. He was silent, as if he didn't fit in at all. She hesitated for a moment, then nodded. All right. Since she had come to the banquet, it was naturally to relieve her boredom. It seemed that Chun Junjie could better integrate her into this circle. Watching Su Jing and Chun Junjie leave together, Lin Kuan and Su Yang exchanged a glance, a faint smile appearing on their faces. Looks like Junjie has a chance. Lin Kuan smiled. Yeah, I think so too. Su Yang nodded. The two of them looked at Li Changsheng at the same time, because Su Jing had treated Li Changsheng differently along the way. But now, her views seem to be changing. Could it be that teacher Su Jing has taken a fancy to that Chun Junjie? Wei Hu said in a muffled voice. Don't be fooled by his burly appearance. He wasn't stupid at all. Coach Li, you have to have a sense of crisis. Don't let others take teacher Su Jing away. Hearing this, Li Changxing smiled. It doesn't matter. If teacher Su Jing likes that Chun Junjie, I think they're a good match. Yeah, they're a good match. You're not good enough for Su Jing. And Xiaoran and Ningxin walked over together. Hearing in Xiaoran's words, Li Changsheng didn't pay attention to her at all. Ningxin, on the other hand, glared at Xiaoran with some blame. Li Changsheng, no one at this banquet knows you. You should realize the gap between you and Su Jing now. Because of what happened yesterday, and Xiaoran didn't forget to mock Li Changsheng whenever she had the chance. Ningxin was a little helpless. This was her good friend's personality. However, she really sympathized with Li Changsheng. He offended her good friend and was targeted. Su Jing was originally interested in him, but now it seemed that she would be snatched away by Chun Junjie. This trip to Suzhou was a double loss. Who said I don't know anyone? Li Changsheng smiled faintly. Look, isn't Miss Dong coming towards me? Looking up, they saw Dong Fian coming from this direction. However, no one thought that she was looking for Li Changsheng. Don't brag without a draft. Miss Dong must be looking for someone here. Could it be that she's looking for you? Don't be narcissistic. Didn't you see how many rich young masters surrounded Miss Dong? They didn't even care about her. Is Miss Dong someone you know? And Xiaoran looked at him with disdain. Su Yang, who was next to her, also shook his head. Dong Fian was the goddess in his heart. He naturally didn't think that the goddess would have anything to do with this ordinary guy. Coach, you must be bragging. Wei Hu chuckled. Ningxin also smiled and didn't take it seriously. She thought that this guy was quite imaginative. When Dong Fian was about to reach them, she didn't intend to stop at all. She directly walked outside. Everyone looked over and saw a young man in a suit walking in surrounded by a crowd. Dong Fian obviously came to greet him. That seems to be Ho Jingtai. He's here too. He's the son of the richest man in Suzhou. Even Ningxin's eyes showed a bit of surprise. Ho Jingtai was definitely the #1 young master in Suzhou. Among the people present, only he was qualified to be treated as an equal by Dong Fian. Ho Jingtai's appearance was ordinary, but his aura was strong. As soon as he appeared, not only Dong Fian, but several big shots in the hall took the initiative to greet him. Wang Dongsheng was among them. Let's go and greet him. If we can get familiar with the son of the richest man, it will be very helpful for us in the future, Su Yang said. Su Yang had already stood up. At this moment, Dong Fian happened to catch a glimpse of Li Changxing's face when she passed by Li Changxing's table. Her delicate body trembled and then she stopped. Ho Jingtai chuckled and said, Miss Dong actually arrived one step ahead of me. As the host, I'm a little embarrassed. Seeing Dong Fian come in to greet him personally, Ho Jingtai felt very proud. After all, Dong Fian's identity was not ordinary now, and she was also a great beauty. However, the smile on his face stiffened because Dong Fian, who was walking towards him, suddenly stopped and then turned to walk in the other direction. Mr. Li, why are you here? Dong Fian's voice was full of excitement. Just call me Changsheng. Li Changsheng smiled slightly. Lin Kuan, Ningxin, and Xiaoran, who had stood up to greet Ho Jingtai, were completely dumbfounded. This Li Changsheng actually knew Dong Fian. Chapter 292. I'm here with a friend. What a coincidence. Have a seat. Li Changsheng pointed to the seat beside him. Su Jing had just left, so the seat was vacated. Su Yang and the others were speechless. Dong Fian was going to greet Ho Jingtai. She just wanted to greet you, but you asked her to sit next to you. It's good enough that Miss Dong can talk to you. However, as soon as this thought appeared, Dong Fian was flattered and sat down next to Li Changsheng. At this time, Ho Jingtai's face had turned purple. Dong Fian came to greet him just now. He had already said what he wanted to say, but he didn't expect to be interrupted halfway. Young Master Ho, what do you think? A middle-aged man next to Ho Jingtai asked in a low voice. This was no different from being slapped in the face in public. Ho Jingtai took a breath, suppressed the anger in his heart, and forced a smile on his face. Who is Miss Dong? If she doesn't greet me, I'll go see her. As he spoke, he laughed and said, Miss Dong met an old friend here. Why don't you introduce him to me? We are friends after all. Dong Fian came to Suzhou this time to invest in a real estate project, and the main partner was Ho Jingtai's family company. It could be said that Ho Jingtai relied on Dong Fian. Dong Fian seemed to have just remembered her purpose of coming over. She said apologetically, "I'm sorry, young Master Ho. I just met a friend and forgot about you. I'm really sorry." Although it was an apology, in Ho Jingtai's ears, it was very unpleasant. It was as if he was really dispensable in the other party's heart and had been forgotten so easily. Many people around also had interesting expressions. This was no different from 20 million points of critical damage. It's okay. Ho Jingtai squeezed out a smile uglier than crying. The anger in his eyes was deeply hidden. Dong Fian then remembered, "This is Mr. Li Changsheng, my friend." "Hello, Mr. Li." Ho Jingtai smiled and extended his hand to Li Changsheng. Li Changsheng only nodded slightly, shook his hand lightly, and then sat back down in his original position. Li Changsheng naturally returned the kindness of others, but he could feel the hostility and coldness in the other party's eyes. This was a hypocrite who hid a knife behind smile. Li Changsheng naturally did not have a good impression of such a person. However, when his actions fell into the eyes of the surrounding people, they were all shocked. Ho Jingtai, the eldest son of the Ho family, had personally extended his hand to shake hands with this person, yet he was treated so casually. This was too arrogant and conceited. On the side, and Shaoran finally felt a bit better. Thinking about what had happened yesterday, she had felt quite indignant, but now that even young Master Ho had been defeated by Li Changsheng, she felt much better. "Miss Dong, I still have to meet a few friends, so I won't disturb you." Ho Jingtai resisted the urge to kill and turned to walk into the banquet. However, the moment he turned around, his eyes were icy. What kind of status did he have? How could he be treated so casually? If the other party was like today's main character, young Master Qi, they would be fine, but the other party was clearly just an unremarkable fellow. First, he embarrassed me because of Dong Fian, and now he's so contemptuous of me. He simply deserves to die. Ho Jingtai thought hatefully. The middle-aged man next to him whispered, "Young master, do you want me to find someone to teach that brat a lesson?" Teaching him a lesson is too easy for him. Ho Jingtai suppressed his anger and said through gritted teeth, "Find out his background. Investigate his background for me. I want him to pay an unforgettable price for his entire life." At this time, Ningxin couldn't help but remind him in a low voice, "Li Changsheng, this Ho Jingtai is a vengeful person. Your attitude toward him was too casual. If he was an ordinary friend, it would be fine, but the other party is the eldest son of the Ho family, the #1 existence among the young masters in Suzhou. Your attitude just now is very likely to anger him." "It's fine." Li Changsheng smiled faintly. How could he not see the coldness in young Master Ho's eyes? However, he didn't care. In his eyes, the other party was nothing more than an ant. He had already given him enough face by reaching out to shake his hand. If the other party really didn't know life from death, he didn't mind teaching him a lesson. Seeing Li Changsheng's indifferent expression, Ningxin couldn't help but sigh. The other party was still too young and didn't know the horror of young Master Ho. On the other side, Lin Kuan was also shaking his head. Only Su Yang couldn't care less about Li Changsheng's expression and stared fixedly at Dong Fian. Dong Fian was the goddess in his heart. Just now, he was stuttering when he spoke to her. But now this goddess was sitting beside him, very close to Li Changsheng, so close that it made him feel very uncomfortable. At this time, Su Jing, who had followed Qin Junjie into the crowd, had become acquainted with several young talents in Suzhou's upper-class circle in just a few minutes. Su Jing was extremely beautiful, which made Qin Junjie proud. Su Jing was also very satisfied that Chen Jun didn't let her down. "Congratulations, young Master Chen, for finding such a beautiful girlfriend." A young man laughed and patted Chen Junjie's shoulder. Qin Junjie looked at Su Jing with some worry. His relationship with Su Jing hadn't reached that stage yet. He was afraid that Su Jing would shake her head and make him look bad. Unexpectedly, Su Jing's face turned slightly red, and she took the initiative to shake his hand. "Hello." Su Jing tacitly agreed with what the other party said just now. Chen Junjia's eyes suddenly lit up. Su Jing's action made him see great hope. Young Master Chun, long time no see. Another young man came over. Unexpectedly, when a young man came over, many young masters also took the initiative to surround them. At a glance, the other party's aura was different. This is young Master Mo, who is ranked second in Suzhou. Chen Junjia introduced him proudly. Mo Yoji's status was very high. Taking the initiative to greet Chen Junjia also showed his connections. Young Master Mo is in the entertainment industry. Many stars in the circle were groomed by him. Chen Junjia reported a few more names, which made Su Jing's eyes shine. One of those stars was her idol. For a moment, she looked at Chen Junjia in a different way. Sure enough, she didn't misjudge Chen Junjia. He had a family background, skills, and ability. Compared to him, Li Changsheng seemed to be much worse. Subconsciously, Su Jing turned her head to look in Li Changsheng's direction and couldn't help but stop, because she found that there seemed to be another woman in the seat she was sitting at. It was Dong Fian. Her delicate body couldn't help but tremble. Why is Dong Fian sitting next to Li Changsheng? For a moment, her mind went blank and her heart was filled with questions. Chapter 293. Su Jing, this is young Master Mo. Chen Junjia pulled Su Jing's arm. When he introduced Su Jing to Mo Yoji just now, Su Jing was distracted, which made Chen Junjia a little embarrassed. Subconsciously, he followed Su Jing's gaze and was stunned on the spot. Dong Fian, Miss Dong, why does she seem to be very close to Li Changsheng? What? Is that your friend? Mo Yoji naturally noticed the abnormality of the two and said with a smile, "It seems that he is not an ordinary person since Miss Dong likes him." What do you mean by not an ordinary person? He is just an ordinary coach from an ordinary family. For some reason, Su Jing was a little angry and said coldly, "What? An ordinary coach?" Mo Yoji's face froze for a moment before he chuckled. "Then I'm afraid he is unlucky." "What do you mean?" Even Chen Junjia was puzzled. You didn't notice, just now, that he didn't give young Master Ho face when he came in. In addition, because of him, Dong Fian didn't greet young Master Ho, which made young Master Ho embarrassed. I think everyone knows what kind of character Ho Jingtai is. If he really has a powerful background, it's fine. But if he doesn't, he dares to offend young Master Ho. He really doesn't know how to write the word death. Chen Junjia, who was a little scared when he saw Dong Fian sitting next to Li Changsheng, couldn't help but feel happy when he heard this. Su Jing, who was next to them, couldn't help but feel confused. He offended the son of the richest man in Suzhou. He was too reckless. No, I have to remind him to leave Suzhou quickly. Thinking of this, Su Jing was about to take a step when she saw Dong Fian take the initiative to put a piece of fruit into Li Changsheng's mouth. Her originally raised foot suddenly stopped. Humph! Damn guy, you are about to die and you still don't know. If you have time and Miss Dong, I won't remind you. Let's see what you will do when young Master Ho embarrasses you. So she took back her foot. Mr. Li, last time we parted, I thought we would never meet again. I didn't expect to see you so soon. Dong Fian was a little excited. Back when they were halfway up the mountain, Li Changsheng had helped her achieve her current status with just a few words. At that time, she didn't like Xiao Buoshu, but she could only endure it. But now, when Xiao Buoshu saw her, he was so respectful and servile, which made her feel absent-minded. Mr. Li, let's have a toast. Dong Fian was like a little fangirl in front of Li Changsheng. Li Changsheng nodded. Just as he raised his wine glass, he heard Dong Fian say, "Mr. Li, can we have a cross-cup toast? I'm sure you won't refuse him, right?" She blinked her big, watery eyes. Coupled with her captivating appearance, she was indeed very attractive. All right. Li Changsheng nodded helplessly. When Ning Xin and the others saw this scene, their eyes almost popped out of their sockets. No way. This is the eldest daughter of the Dong family. Even the richest man in Suzhou has to treat her with respect. But she seems to admire and be grateful to Li Changsheng. What's going on? and she took the initiative to ask to have a cross-cup toast with Li Changsheng. Am I blind? It seems that the coach wasn't bragging. Wei Hu chuckled, and Xiaoran said with some indignation, how can the eldest daughter of the Dong family be like this? She can't be fake, right? As soon as she said that, Dong Fian suddenly turned her head and looked her up and down. You must be the daughter of some family in Suzhou, right? Since you're Mr. Li's friend, I won't argue with you. But you have to respect Mr. Li in the future. Otherwise, I still have some connections in Suzhou. You know, this Dong Fian might appear delicate and soft in front of Li Changsheng, but as her status continued to rise these days, her body had already become somewhat domineering. Her words immediately caused Xiaoran's delicate body to tremble. Ning Xian hurried to smooth things over. Miss Dong, my sister is not sensible. Please don't mind her. Let me toast you. Okay. Only then did Dong Fian smile. You're sensible. When she came over just now, she saw that Xiaoran was looking at Li Changsheng with hostility. Li Changsheng was someone she respected very much. In fact, he was also the object of her affection. How could she let others offend Li Changsheng? She knew that with Li Changsheng's status, he just didn't want to argue with her. But Li Changsheng's disdain didn't mean she could ignore it. After clinking glasses with Dong Fian, Ning Xian couldn't help but look at Li Changsheng a few more times. In her opinion, Li Changsheng was becoming more and more mysterious. She couldn't see through him anymore. At this time, the music suddenly stopped. Many people looked up and saw Ho Jingtai walk to the center of the stage. He pressed his hand down and waited for the venue to quiet down before saying, My father is unwell and can't attend this banquet, so I'm here to welcome everyone on behalf of my father. The banquet will officially begin. Before we begin, let's welcome our main character today, young Master Qi Xian from the Northwest, with the warmest applause. As soon as he finished speaking, the venue was filled with enthusiastic applause. At this time, the shocking entrance music sounded. The door opened, and a young man strode in, surrounded by a group of young masters. He was thin, and his face was even a bit sickly pale. However, his eyes were bright and spirited, like an eagle in the sky. His appearance immediately became the center of attention. That's Qi Xian, the son of the sickly tiger Qiyu. Although his looks are average, he has such a temperament. Yes, Qi Xian is the real #1 young master in the entire Northwest region. Anyone who can marry him will definitely be blessed by their ancestors. I heard that Qi Xian is very arrogant and picky. For so many years, there have never been any rumors about him. Such a person is the most loyal. Once you become his girlfriend, you're really lucky. Many women were discussing in low voices. Many men looked envious. Who didn't want to be in the limelight? Who didn't want to be in the limelight? Who didn't want to be glorious and dazzling? Some people struggled their whole lives, but couldn't achieve it, while others were born with it. Qi Xian went on stage and said a few words casually. Then, he sat down in the front seat, which was reserved exclusively for him. Other than him, only Ho Jingtai, as the host, and Mo Yoji, the top young master of Suzhou, were qualified to sit here. Of course, there was another person, the eldest daughter of the Dong family, Dong Fian. After Qi Xian was seated, Ho Jingtai took the initiative to walk to Dong Fian and said, Miss Dong, I've already arranged a seat for you. Young Master Qi Xian is over there. Would you like to move over there and take a seat? Indeed, with Dong Fian's status, she should sit at the front. Unexpectedly, Dong Fian shook her head. No, I'll just sit here and chat with Li Changsheng. I'll have to trouble you to tell young Master Qi Xian that I met an acquaintance here. This Ho Jingtai was a little embarrassed, but finally nodded. Before he left, he took a deep look at Li Changsheng. It was fine that Dong Fian valued Li Changsheng more than him. After all, with Dong Fian's status, his Suzhou was just a small place. But who was Qi Yu's son, Qi Xian? He was the undisputed #1 young master in the Northwest. Dong Fian actually refused to sit there and chose to sit with Li Changsheng instead. This really puzzled him, but he couldn't invite Dong Fian over, which inevitably made him lose face. His hatred for Li Changsheng grew stronger. What? Miss Dong doesn't want to come over? Qi Xian picked up the cup and turned it. Yes, Miss Dong said she met a friend. Although Ho Jingtai was respected in Suzhou, in front of Qi Xian, he bowed his head like a lackey. After all, Qi Xian's status was too high, and he could only look up to him. Beside him, Mo Yoji wasn't much better. It's fine. I'm not familiar with Miss Dong anyway. Qi Xian smiled. He wasn't a good-tempered person, but he wouldn't get angry over such a small matter. But just because he wasn't angry didn't mean that the people around him didn't care. One of the women dressed with flaming red lips snorted coldly. This Miss Dong doesn't know the rules. What friend is more important than young Master Qi? After the banquet, I have to call the head of the Dong family and remind him. Don't think that just because the Dong family has risen recently, he doesn't know the immensity of heaven and earth. Did he forget whose world is in the northwest? When this woman got angry, everyone present trembled with fear. But Qi Xian just smiled and didn't care. This Missy was his friend who grew up with him. They could be considered childhood sweethearts. He Lei's father, He Yiming, was his father's right-hand man. Especially after Demon Blade Nalan Yu's legs were crippled, He Yiming was even more valued under Qi Yu. Sometimes, even if He Lei went overboard, Qi Xian would be very tolerant. Not to mention, she just wanted to warn Dong Fian. He naturally didn't care. Chapter 294. Junjia. So you're here. While Chun Junjia was introducing Su Jing to the big shots and young masters present, a person's voice suddenly sounded. Chun Junjia turned around, and his face turned slightly ugly. Uncle Bei-chun, why are you here? Chun Bei-chun was Chun Junjia's uncle. He was only 7 or 8 years older than Chun Junjia, but his aura was much stronger than Chun Junjia's. Why am I here? I should be asking you that. Yesterday, you called me to plead for the Wang family, and I went to the head of the Liu family. But then you hesitated. What do you take me for? Are you kidding me? So this was the relative Chun Junjia met yesterday. Chun Bei-chun had a lot of power in Suzhou. Otherwise, the Liu family wouldn't have given him face. Uncle Bei-chun, your price yesterday was too high. Also, the head of the Liu family said that you were conspiring with him to steal the Wang family's assets. Chun Junjia was a little angry. His uncle wasn't being nice. Chun Bei-chun snorted coldly. Whether it's a conspiracy or a secret plot, the Wang family came to me first. They can't just kick me away without a word. I can't take this lying down. Uncle Bei-chun, what do you want? Chun Junjia's face turned ugly. He knew his uncle's personality. He wasn't a kind person. What do I want? Of course, I want the Wang family to pay the price. At the same time, I want to see who the guy who ruined my plan yesterday is. Li Changsheng called yesterday, so the Liu family didn't dare to cause trouble for the Wang family. Now that you're causing trouble for the Wang family, aren't you afraid of the person behind Li Changsheng? Li Changsheng? Ha! Yes, that's the guy. The head of the Liu family told me that the guy is called Li Changsheng. So what if he has someone behind him? I've already asked around. Isn't it Zhu Dapeng from the Wanrong group? The Liu family is afraid of Zhu Dapeng, but I'm not. I even brought the Liu family's daughter. The Liu family promised me that if I teach that guy a lesson, they'll give me a considerable amount of wealth. Chun Bei-chun sneered at Su Jing. You're the one who came to Suzhou with that guy. You're quite pretty. Spend the night with me. Otherwise, don't even think about leaving Suzhou in one piece. After that, he walked towards Li Changsheng's position. On the other side, the eldest daughter of the Liu family, Liu Xueping, followed him with a face full of excitement. She had been beaten up by Li Changsheng the day before, and her heart was filled with hatred. When she heard that Chun Bei-chun wasn't afraid of the Wanrong group at all and was looking for trouble with the Wang family, she immediately requested to come and witness the scene. On the other side, Su Jing, who had heard Chun Bei-chun's words, clenched her fists and looked at Chun Junjia. Junjia, this uncle of yours is too much. However, Chun Junjia's eyes were filled with despair. He subconsciously kept a distance from Su Jing. What do you mean? Su Jing's expression changed. She found it hard to believe. My uncle asked you to accompany him for a night. You'd better do it. Although he is my uncle, he is not my biological uncle. He is my uncle. He has a lot of power. If you don't listen to him, you will be in great danger. What? Su Jing looked at Chun Junjie with her mouth agape. She didn't expect him to say something like that. Chun Junjie, I didn't expect you to be such a person. To think that I admired you back then. Su Jing was disappointed. Very disappointed. Chun Junjie knew many people and had a strong network of connections. On top of that, he was a rich second-generation heir. Su Jing's impression of him kept changing. However, she didn't expect Chun Junjie to say something like that. Chun Junjie, I was wrong about you. Compared to Li Changsheng, you are a piece of trash. Su Jing said loudly. However, at the mention of Li Changsheng, Chun Junjie's eyes were filled with madness. Li Changsheng? Huh? What does he have to compare to me? What does he have? At least Li Changsheng is not afraid in the face of power. He will never abandon the person he likes. A wise man submits to circumstances. If Li Changsheng doesn't, he will die miserably. You can't imagine my uncle's power. If Li Changsheng goes against my uncle, he will not be able to walk out of Suzhou alive. Of course, I'm afraid that when he hears my uncle's name, he will be scared to death. In Suzhou, except for Qi Xian, the eldest son of the Qi family, even the son of the richest family, Hou Jingtai, doesn't dare to offend my uncle. So, just wait and see how your Li Changsheng, Coach Li Changsheng, who is stronger than me, kneels at my uncle's feet, wags his tail, and begs for mercy. Su Jing was so angry that she couldn't speak, but her tone wasn't as firm as before. Yes, this Chun Beichen obviously didn't care about Li Changsheng's connections. Although Li Changsheng was good at fighting, it was difficult for a strong dragon to suppress a snake in its own territory. Moreover, this Chun Beichen was simply a local dragon. She hoped that Li Changsheng wouldn't go head-on with him and bowed down a little. Perhaps things would be over. Su Jing was conflicted. She hoped that Li Changsheng would be tough and upright, but she didn't want Li Changsheng to be hurt. She hoped that he would bow down a little. At this moment, with the appearance of Chun Beichen, many people exclaimed. Obviously, this Mr. Chun Beichen didn't have a good reputation in Suzhou. On the other side, Hou Jingtai and Mo Yoji also saw Chun Beichen, and their eyes were filled with worry. Today was the banquet to welcome Qi Xian. They couldn't let Chun Beichen ruin it. In their eyes, Chun Beichen was a complete lunatic. At this moment, Li Changsheng was chatting happily with Dong Fian. Suddenly, a figure stood in front of him. When he looked up, he saw an unfamiliar face. However, Li Changsheng also noticed that it was the eldest daughter of the Lu family, Lu Xueping, standing behind Chun Beichen. He instantly knew that she was not a friend, but an enemy. The Lu family actually dared to find someone to cause trouble for me. A cold light flashed in Li Changsheng's eyes. It seems that I've been too kind. Lu Xueping didn't say anything. In fact, in front of Chun Beichen, she didn't have the right to speak. She only looked at Li Changsheng with hatred. Her eyes were so full of hatred that she wanted to skin Li Changsheng alive. If looks could kill, she would have stabbed Li Changsheng thousands or even tens of thousands of times. You're Li Changsheng? Chun Beichen's lips curled into a sinister smile. That's right. Li Changsheng nodded. The aura of the person in front of him was very strange. There was a brutal and bloodthirsty aura dormant in his body. He was also a cultivator, and a demonic one at that. Demonic cultivation techniques were brutal and loved to kill. They were like wild beasts. The reason why such people were not tolerated by the righteous path was that their methods were too brutal and cruel. They were also too cold-blooded and heartless. Such people were easily affected by their cultivation techniques, and almost all of them became paranoid and crazy. There were very few people who could control demonic cultivation techniques without being affected. Chun Beichen was obviously not one of them. I'm Chun Beichen. Nice to meet you. As he spoke, he took the initiative to extend his hand to Li Changsheng. Li Changsheng was just about to reach out and shake his hand. After all, one shouldn't hit a smiling person. Who would have thought that, just as he raised his hand, the other party would suddenly swing his hand and slap Li Changsheng's face. Smack! A crisp sound rang out, silencing the entire place. However, it did not hit Li Changsheng's face. Instead, it was blocked by Li Changsheng's arm. The other party did not seem to expect Li Changsheng to react so quickly. However, A cruel smile soon appeared in his eyes. Huh, I didn't expect you to have some skills. Kid, do you really think that your master Chan wants to shake hands with you? You're not worthy. A bastard from another place dares to ruin my plan. Now, I want you to immediately kneel down and kowtow to me 100 times to repent for your sins. If I'm happy, I might just treat you like a fart and let you go. After saying that, he looked coldly at Li Changsheng. Li Changsheng, on the other hand, only smiled and shook his head. I wouldn't care if a wild dog barked at me on the road. However, this wild dog dared to rush over and bite me. That's unforgivable. Your name is Chun Bei-chin, right? In my eyes, you're just a wild dog. Li Changsheng slowly stood up. His voice was very calm, without any ripples. But when it fell into the ears of the crowd, each and every one of them widened their eyes. How dare you call Chun Bei-chin a wild dog? You're too bold. Chapter 295. What did you say? Chun Bei-chin's eyes were filled with brutality. I said your dog. Kneel down and kowtow 3 times, then break one of your fingers. Then I'll forgive your offense. Li Changsheng said coldly. The crowd was even more dumbfounded. He's too arrogant. He actually asked Chun Bei-chin to kneel down and kowtow, and even wanted to break his fingers. How bold must he be? Are you kidding me? Chun Bei-chin was a well-known figure in Suzhou. He was known as a mad dog. He was originally a young master of a small branch of the Chun family. His status was not as high as Chun Junjia's. However, on a certain day, 3 years ago, he suddenly made a name for himself. More than 10 forces in Suzhou City, big and small, submitted to him. Those who had a grudge against him all suffered from his crazy revenge. He only used a short year to establish his status in Suzhou City. Although his strength was not considered top-notch in Suzhou, even the son of the richest man, Ho Jingtai, did not dare to offend him. This was because he was a madman. Once a madman went berserk, everyone would be afraid of him. Moreover, he would not rest until he was dead. Before this, there were several people stronger than Chun Bei-chin who had experienced his methods. All of them had their families destroyed by him. Otherwise, Chun Junjia would not have been so afraid when he met his uncle. Didn't you see that after Chun Bei-chin appeared, even Ho Jingtai and Mo Yoji's expressions changed? Li Changsheng actually asked Chun Bei-chin to kneel down and kowtow. Many people were speechless. Huh, did I hear wrongly? Chun Bei-chin was so angry that he started laughing instead. His handsome face was twisted with malevolence. Then, he stretched out his finger in front of Li Changsheng and pointed at Li Changsheng's nose. My finger is right here. Take it if you dare. I'll lend you 10 times the courage. Chun Bei-chin's face was filled with madness. Those who were familiar with him knew that he was truly enraged. An enraged Chun Bei-chin was very scary. Many people around unconsciously took a few steps back to maintain their distance from Chun Bei-chin. In Suzhou City, no one was willing to provoke Chun Bei-chin. They hated this mad dog, but they also knew that this mad dog was very powerful. He wasn't someone that ordinary people could provoke. Otherwise, how could someone as crazy as him live to this day? He even dared to ask Chun Bei-chin to kneel down and kowtow, asking for a finger. Many people were already looking at him with pity. This wild kid who came out of nowhere probably did not know how terrifying Chun Bei-chin was. He was going to be in trouble today. Not to mention him, even the richest man in Suzhou wouldn't dare to boast like this. Facing the finger that was pointed at his nose, Li Changsheng suddenly reached out and grabbed it like lightning. Then, with a crack, the finger bent at a 90-degree angle and was broken. Ah! Chun Bei-chin screamed. Li Changsheng released his grip, and Chun Bei-chin squatted on the ground, clutching his hand. He kept sucking in cold air, and his forehead was covered in cold sweat. At this moment, it was so quiet that one could hear a pin drop. Everyone was dumbfounded, completely dumbfounded. Chun Bei-chin's finger was broken. It was really broken. Even Ho Jingtai, Mo Yoji, and a few people at the table stood up. It was unbelievable. They thought that Chun Bei-chin was crazy enough, but they didn't expect someone to be crazier and more ruthless than him. Many people dreamed of trampling this mad dog under their feet. They hated that they could not slap his face and rub his face against the ground. However, that was just a thought. Now, there were people who really did it. They were straightforward and did it without any hesitation. On the other side, Chun Junjie, who was waiting for Li Changsheng to kneel at Chun Beichen's feet and beg for mercy, was completely dumbfounded. But soon, a smile appeared on his face. Li Changsheng actually dared to break his uncle's hand. Even God couldn't save him. Su Jing was a woman after all. Her face was a little pale. Such a scene was too bloody, and her eyes were filled with worry. From Chun Junjie's words, she already knew how terrifying Chun Beichen was. And Li Changsheng had broken his finger in front of so many people. He definitely wouldn't rest until one of them was dead. As for Ningxin and Xiaoran, they covered their mouths in disbelief. Su Yang and Lin coincided. At this point, there was no way to end it peacefully. With Chun Beichen's character, Li Changsheng was definitely going to die. Even though Li Changsheng's actions just now were ruthless, unyielding, and barbaric enough, and everyone felt a sense of relief, it was too reckless, too ignorant of the immensity of heaven and earth. Just for a momentary gratification, what followed next would be the Azura hell. It was really not worth it. Just as everyone was in shock, Li Changsheng quietly looked at Chun Beichen, who was squatting on the ground, as if he had done something insignificant. After breaking Chun Beichen's finger, Li Changsheng's expression didn't change at all. Then, he very naturally picked up a wine glass on the table and gestured for Dong Fian to pour it for him. Dong Fian's mind was blank. She took a deep breath and suppressed the throbbing in her heart. She helped Li Changsheng pour the red wine into the wine glass. She came to Suzhou to do business. Naturally, she knew that there were some people in Suzhou that couldn't be offended. Before coming, from the information she received, Chun Beichen was definitely one of the people that couldn't be offended. But now, Li Changsheng had offended him. However, she wasn't afraid. Chun Beichen thought that Li Changsheng's backer was Zhu Dapeng. Dong Fian knew that Zhu Dapeng was just a lackey in front of Li Changsheng. She took a deep breath and said, "Chun Beichen, if you dare to offend Mr. Li, you're making an enemy of my Dong family. My Dong family will always stand on Mr. Li's side." After Dong Fian finished speaking, everyone present was even more dumbfounded. What's going on? Has the eldest daughter of the Dong family been kicked in the head by a donkey? That's Chun Beichen. If she stands out now, Chun Beichen will bear a grudge against her. Although the Dong family was very powerful in the northwest region, Chun Beichen was a mad dog. This kind of person could do anything when he went crazy. Sitting at the front, the woman next to Qi Xian, He couldn't help but shake her head. Miss Dong made the Dong family rise in power in a short month. I thought she was a very powerful woman. It turns out that she's also a fool. Although I don't know what qualities Li Changsheng has that made her fancy him, she stood out and brought disaster to her family. She didn't consider the consequences at all and acted on impulse. I don't even have the heart to teach her a lesson. Hearing He Lei's words, Qi Xian didn't say anything. He just watched everything with interest. As the eldest son of the Qi family, he was high and mighty. Even someone like Chun Beichen was just an ant in his eyes. At this moment, he was like a giant watching ants fight. Whoever won or lost didn't affect his state of mind. The only thing he admired was Li Changsheng's actions just now. He was wild and barbaric. Of course, that was all. He didn't intend to intervene. He was just a reckless and hot-blooded young man who didn't know his place. There were many people like him in the world, but most of them didn't live long. He didn't need to reach out and help someone who didn't live long. Chapter 296. I'll kill you. Chun Beichen endured the pain and stood up from the ground. His forehead was covered in sweat, and his eyes were filled with cold, murderous intent. He pressed an alarm on his arm. Soon, a group of men in black with daggers in their hands rushed in. They looked like ferocious grassland wolves. They were the members of Chun Beichen's Black Wolf Gang. Seeing this group of people, many people's expressions changed. The reason why Chun Beichen could rise so quickly and make people tremble in fear was because of his Black Wolf gang. His men were as ferocious as wolves and were extremely loyal to Chun Bei-chun. Every one of these people was stronger than Chun Bei-chun. The moment they appeared, there was a bloody stench. After these people appeared, they immediately rushed to Chun Bei-chun's side. One of the elders was actually the strongest. He cupped his hands and said, "I'm sorry for my incompetence. I didn't protect the young master well and caused him to be injured. It's fine." Chun Bei-chun pointed at Li Changsheng. "Tear him into pieces." At this moment, many people showed pity on their faces. The Black Wolf gang, especially this elder, was the chief steward of the Black Wolf gang. He was ferocious. Moreover, these members were all battle-hardened. Someone had once challenged the Black Wolf gang. It was said that the other party was a boxing champion. In the end, he was defeated by the members of the Black Wolf gang. Many people in Su Province's martial arts world had heard that every member of the Black Wolf gang was 10 times stronger than the average boxing champion. Now that there were more than 50 people who had barged in, it was a terrifying force. Unless Li Changsheng had a machine gun with extremely strong penetrative power, he could only escape. Otherwise, he would definitely die. Moreover, the Black Wolf gang was so ferocious that no one doubted that Chun Bei-chun would kill Li Changsheng. "It's over. This is the consequence of offending my uncle." Chun Junjie showed some pity on his face. Although he knew that Li Changsheng was a combat coach and was very powerful according to Su Jing and the others, it was difficult for 2 fists to fight against 4 hands. Moreover, every member of the Black Wolf gang was a ferocious wolf cub. It was true that Li Changsheng was very powerful, but the members of the Black Wolf gang seemed to be even more terrifying. Many people couldn't help but turn their heads to the side. What would happen next would definitely be a brutal scene. Even Dong Fian, who stood beside Li Changsheng and had absolute faith in Li Changsheng, couldn't help but reveal worry in her eyes. She knew that Li Changsheng's status was very high, and his background was very powerful. However, distant water could not quench a present thirst. If these 50 people were to kill him, Li Changsheng would not have a chance to leave this place. It seems that Mr. Li has miscalculated. Dong Fian thought silently in her heart, but she didn't leave. Instead, she stood side by side with Li Changsheng. There was nothing she could do to help Li Changsheng. She could only face it together. On the other side, Su Yang's face became anxious. "Fei Yin, quickly stay away from him, otherwise you will be implicated." Dong Fian was the goddess in his heart. He didn't want his goddess to be hurt. However, Dong Fian didn't seem to hear him. She just stood there quietly with determination in her eyes. Wei Hu also stood up and stood beside Li Changsheng. He said in a low, muffled voice, "Whoever goes against Coach Li is my enemy. Whoever wants to hurt Coach Li will have to step over my body first. And me, and me." 2 voices, one male and one female, sounded at the same time. Wang Dongsheng and Jin Wenwen stepped into the circle. Wang Heng opened his mouth, but didn't stop them in the end. Chun Bei-chun was someone that even he was afraid of. However, his son had grown up and had his own opinions. Moreover, Li Changsheng was the benefactor of the Wang family. Li Changsheng, Dong Fian, Wei Hu, Wang Dongsheng, and Jin Wenwen. The 5 of them stood together. Although they looked weak under the aggressive aura of the Black Wolf gang, they didn't show any fear. Many people clenched their fists when they saw this scene. They felt their blood boiling. This was such a touching scene. They were not afraid to face difficulties together. "Maybe we can't help you too much, but what we can do is to stand with you. That's enough. And me." Finally, Su Jing gritted her teeth and walked over. At this moment, she made such a choice. She knew that she might be afraid, but she wouldn't regret it. Seeing Su Jing walking over, Li Changsheng's face revealed a smile. At this moment, he was very satisfied and happy. What a touching scene. It's a pity that all of you are going to die today. Chun Bei-chun's eyes were dark. With his character, he would never allow Li Changsheng and the rest to walk out of this banquet alive. Just when everyone was suffocating and hanging on by a thread, Li Changsheng suddenly laughed. Then, he walked directly to the front of the banquet. Chun Bei-chun didn't stop him. He wasn't afraid that Li Changsheng would escape because there was no door inside. There were only a few windows. Unless Li Changsheng jumped down from above, this was the 30th floor. Of course, Li Changsheng wouldn't leave Wang Dongsheng and the rest behind and escape through the window. Instead, he walked directly to Qi Xian's table and said, "Do me a favor and deal with this group of mad dogs." Li Changsheng's words made everyone at Qi Xian's table dumbfounded. "What's going on? Does the young master of the Qi family know who you are?" Many people chuckled softly. Is he turning to any doctor in his desperation? It's ridiculous. Chen Beichen also sneered. Qi Xian raised his eyebrows and asked, "Why?" "Because I'm the one who broke Nalan Yuding's leg." Li Changsheng bent down and said in a voice that only Qi Xian could hear. Suddenly, Qi Xian's body shook and he suddenly raised his head. His eyes reflected an incredulous light. As Qi Yu's son, he naturally knew who the person who broke Nalan Yuding's leg was. It was a person that even his father respected. "Okay." Qi Xian didn't say another word. He stood up and walked directly to Chen Beichen. He brought many subordinates with him to Suzhou. They were behind him and outside the banquet. As long as he gave the order, they could kill Chen Beichen with just a word. However, the sickly tiger Qi Yu's son was also a tiger, and a tiger that had grown claws and fangs. He alone was enough to deal with Chen Beichen. Moreover, only by doing it personally could he show that he valued Li Changsheng. This was because his father had told him not long ago that being able to gain Mr. Li's favor was a greater fortune than the heavens. After Qi Xian stood up, Li Changsheng sat down at Qi Xian's seat. Of course, he could deal with Chen Beichen himself. However, Chen Beichen's subordinates showed that Chen Beichen's identity was not simple. If Li Changsheng directly attacked Chen Beichen, there would be endless trouble. He wasn't afraid of trouble, but he didn't want to be disturbed by flies. However, it was different if Qi Xian attacked. As the son of the sickly tiger Qi Yu, even the power behind Chen Beichen would not dare to seek revenge. They would even have to come and beg for forgiveness. Li Changsheng sat down, but he didn't know how shocked everyone present was. That was Qi Yu's son, Qi Xian. He actually stood up to help Li Changsheng at this time. Ho Jingtai's hand holding the teacup trembled, and the bata fell onto the table. Mo Yoji, who was second only to him in Suzhou, also widened his eyes. Hele, who came with Qi Xian, looked like she had seen a ghost. Others didn't understand Qi Xian, but she did. He was definitely an indifferent and cold person. What hero saving the damsel in distress? What chivalry? He didn't know how to be a good person at all. What was going on today? What did he say to Brother Xian to make him make such a decision? Chapter 297. Qi Xian walked towards Chen Beichen step by step. Chen Beichen, who had been waiting to see a joke, now had an extremely ugly expression on his face. He had today's status because he met a demonic cultivator 3 years ago and became his disciple, becoming the young master of that demonic sect. As a result, things got out of hand. These members of his Black Wolf gang were all disciples of that Devil Dao sect. Although that Devil Dao sect was powerful, it was nothing compared to the famed sick tiger Qi Yu in the north. He had heard his master say that there were a few people in the north that could not be offended. The first was Heavenly King Su Xiaolin, and the second was sick tiger Qi Yu. At this moment, Chen Beichen had already forgotten the pain of his broken finger. He just stared at Qi Xian, breathing heavily. As for his subordinates, including the old man his master had assigned to protect him, they were all scared silly. This was Qi Xian. Young Master Qi, we have no grievances in the past, nor do we have any enmity. Chen Beichen was about to say something when Qi Xian stepped forward, leaving an afterimage in the air. He instantly appeared in front of Chen Beichen and grabbed his neck. Young Master Qi, Chen Beichen still wanted to say something. But with a loud crack, Chen Beichen's body fell limply to the ground. Chen Beichen was not dead, but Qi Xian had crushed his nervous system below his neck. He could only be a vegetable for the rest of his life. The remaining members of the Black Wolf gang were about to take revenge for Chen Beichen when the old man shouted, "Stop!" Then, he bowed respectfully to Qi Xian. It was our Black Wolf Gang's young master who recklessly offended young Master Qi. Please punish him. Each of you leave an arm, then scram with your useless young master. Qi Xian said coldly. Although the son of a tiger and leopard had yet to form a pattern, he already had the aura of a bull. As the son of sick tiger Qi Yu, although Qi Xian looked a little sick, he was definitely vicious and merciless. The old man was not the least bit angry that Qi Xian wanted them to lose an arm. Instead, he heaved a long sigh of relief. He drew a knife from behind him and chopped down on his palm without hesitation. The remaining members of the Black Wolf Gang silently followed suit. Then, he held his arm and left the banquet with Chun Beichen. The entire place fell into silence. At this time, Li Changxing was sitting in Qi Xian's seat. He lit a cigarette and crossed his legs as if he was the star of the party. He stared at Li Changxing from the side. Her eyes were filled with confusion and anger. That was her brother Xian's seat. How could this guy sit there? She was very upset. On the other hand, Hou Jingtai, Mo Yoji, and the other top nobles of Suzhou had complicated expressions. All of this was like a mystery. They were certain that Qi Xian didn't know Li Changxing before, but Li Changxing had whispered something into his ear, causing Qi Xian's attitude to change drastically. Speak, what words did you use to trick my big brother Xian? Let me tell you, my big brother Xian isn't that easy to fool. You'd better get out of his seat and apologize to my big brother Xian immediately. Otherwise, you won't even know how you died later. He said angrily. However, Li Changxing only smiled disdainfully and actually stood up. Su Jing and the rest had been paying attention to the commotion. They couldn't understand how Li Changxing managed to convince Qi Xian. However, when they saw Li Changxing's actions, their hearts couldn't help but skip a beat. Could it be, as he said, that Li Changxing lied to Qi Xian and made him attack? Is he standing up now to apologize to Qi Xian? Their hearts were in their throats. What kind of person was Qi Xian? Chun Beichun was so ruthless. Didn't he see how the Black Wolf Gang treated Qi Xian like a dog? If Li Changxing had lied to Qi Xian, it would be terrible. Many people around them also sneered. This young man is too bold. What kind of person is Qi Xian? He's going to skin him alive. Li Changxing stood up and walked back to his seat. He nodded at Qi Xian and said, "You did well." At this moment, Qi Xian's face actually revealed a bit of flattery. Then, Li Changxing returned to his seat. Su Jing and the rest were still in shock. Many people looked at the organizer of today's banquet, the host, Hou Jingtai. The banquet hadn't officially started yet, and there was already such an episode. Hou Jingtai took a deep breath and ordered his subordinates, "Clean up the scene." Immediately, someone busied himself. However, Qi Xian didn't return to his seat. Instead, he took the initiative to sit down opposite Li Changxing. "Mr. Li, can you allow me to have a drink with you?" Qi Xian asked carefully. "Of course." Li Changxing nodded. Qi Xian was the son of an old friend. Naturally, he didn't have any ill feelings. Moreover, Qi Xian was very much like his father. He looked sickly but had potential in cultivation. Moreover, he was ruthless and ruthless. As soon as Qi Xian sat down, Su Jing and the rest didn't dare to sit anymore. Qi Xian's status was too high. "Have a seat. Young Master Qi and I are friends," Li Changxing said. Only then did they sit down suspiciously. However, their hearts were still in their mouths. They felt that Li Changxing clearly didn't know Qi Xian before. He must have used something to deceive Qi Xian. Qi Xian didn't realize it now. If he did, he would be finished. On the other side, he originally thought that Li Changxing would apologize to Qi Xian. She didn't expect that even Qi Xian would sit at that table in the end. For a moment, she didn't feel good sitting there. Many people could tell that she liked Qi Xian. However, Qi Xian didn't like her. Qi Xian treated her differently because her father was Qi Yu's right-hand man. Qi Xian didn't want to bring He here at first, but she begged and insisted on coming. She just wanted to stay by Qi Xian's side. Seeing Qi Xian sit down there, she hesitated for a moment. Then, she stood up and walked over to Qi Xian. Suddenly, the focus of the banquet was on Li Changxing. Hou Jingtai's expression turned ugly. Originally, their table was the most honorable seat and the main character of this banquet. However, now that Qi Xian had run over to Li Chongqing's table, they looked awkward. Moreover, they invited Qi Xian today for one thing. They wanted to rely on Qi Xian. However, now that Qi Xian was there, the banquet was meaningless. It seemed that after meeting Li Chongqing today, everything had gone wrong for him. Now that even Qi Xian had left, anger rose in his heart for no reason. Young Master Ho, why do I feel that Li Chongqing's seat is the golden seat of today's banquet? Mo Yoji said in a low voice. Ho Jingtai clenched his fists immediately. His eyes were cold. However, he was a shrewd young master. He took a deep breath, suppressed the anger in his heart, and squeezed out a smile. Since young Master Qi is there, let's go over. Ho Jingtai patted his clothes, picked up a wine glass, and walked over to where Qi Xian was sitting. Chapter 298. The other young masters sitting in the first row looked at each other and walked over with tacit understanding. They hadn't come to the banquet today to give Ho Jingtai face. Naturally, they want to take this opportunity to get familiar with young Master Qi in the future. When they went out and mentioned that they knew young Master Qi, their words and actions would carry weight and people would be willing to give them face. Seeing people walk over to Li Chongqing's side in a grandiose manner, Li Chongqing, who hadn't been valued before, became a hot commodity. People kept coming over to toast him. Li Chongqing, in particular, was regarded highly by Qi Xian and became the target of people's flattery. On the other side, Chun Junjie was treated like a god of plague. He had a lot of connections, and even Mo Yoji, who was ranked second among the young masters in Suzhou, had a good relationship with him. However, his uncle had offended Li Chongqing and been taught a lesson by Qi Xian. Although his nephew wasn't involved, he was also implicated and implicated. No one wanted to interact with him at this time. If they offended young Master Qi because of this, no one could bear the consequences. On the other side, Lu Xueping, the eldest daughter of the Lu family, stood there with a pale face. She knew that she had really kicked an iron plate this time. An iron plate that was hundreds of meters thick couldn't be penetrated by a rocket launcher. Trembling, she walked forward slightly, wanting to apologize to Li Chongqing and beg for his forgiveness. However, before she could get close, she heard Li Chongqing say coldly, "Get out of the banquet, lest you dirty my eyes." Yes, Lu Xueping didn't feel humiliated at all. She let out a long sigh of relief. Not to mention Li Chongqing telling her to scram. Even if Li Chongqing told her to lie on the ground and lick the soles of his shoes, she would do it. As long as Li Chongqing didn't do anything to her Lu family, she would just be scolded. However, was it really that simple? Just as she turned around and took 2 steps, she heard Li Chongqing say indifferently, "I already gave Miss Lu a chance yesterday, but she doesn't repent today. I don't think there's any need for the Lu family to exist in Suzhou." Many people sucked in a breath of cold air. This Li Chongqing looks kind, but his heart is really ruthless. This is going to bring misfortune upon the entire Lu clan. At this time, Lu Xueping had already collapsed on the ground with a plop, as if all the strength in her body had been sucked out. She turned her head, wanting to come over and beg for Li Chongqing's forgiveness, but she had already been dragged out of the banquet by Qi Xian's 2 subordinates. Beside him, Su Yang and Lin Kuan looked at Li Chongqing with a complicated expression. They couldn't understand how a person could change so quickly. Yesterday, he was just a poor kid that they didn't think highly of. Today, he had become a big shot that everyone in Suzhou's upper circle wanted to curry favor with. And Xiaoran still felt like she was in a dream. Yesterday, when Li Chongqing refused to be friends with her, she thought that Li Chongqing was arrogant and conceited. However, now that she thought about it, if Li Chongqing could be friends with someone like Qi Xian, then she really wasn't qualified. When she thought about her ridicule of Li Chongqing, fear suddenly rose in her heart. This Qi Xian was so fierce and listened to Li Chongqing's words. What if Li Chongqing took the opportunity to take revenge on her? Didn't he see how scared Miss Lu was? For a moment, and Xiaoran's pretty face was covered in cold sweat. She carefully glanced at Li Changsheng. Seeing that Li Changsheng didn't notice her, she let out a long sigh of relief. Ningxin's heart was in turmoil, and Xiaoran said that Su Jing wasn't worthy of Li Changsheng. How could she not think the same in her heart? In her opinion, Li Changsheng was far from Chen Junjie. However, even Chen Junjie didn't catch her eye. Although her Ning family was only a small, wealthy family, based on her temperament and appearance, only someone like Mo Yoji or Ho Jingtai was worthy of her. Li Changsheng originally didn't catch her eye. However, looking at Li Changsheng's ordinary face now, she suddenly felt that he wasn't so ordinary anymore. He seemed to have become much more handsome. This was a halo. When Li Changsheng broke Chen Beichen's fingers without hesitation, Qi Xian carried out Li Changsheng's orders without hesitation. When the group of Suzhou's top young masters respectfully toasted Li Changsheng, and Li Changsheng stood there like the moon surrounded by stars, Li Changsheng's figure became taller in everyone's eyes. Li Changsheng, what lies did you use to trick my brother Xian into helping you? Just when everyone was flattering Li Changsheng, no matter what they thought in their hearts, a cold voice suddenly sounded. It was Ilay. The moment Ilay spoke, the scene fell into silence. Everyone knew that Ilay's identity wasn't ordinary. She was second only to Qi Xian in the crowd. At this moment, Ilay didn't hide her hostility towards Li Changsheng. I didn't lie to him. I only told him the truth and told him my identity. Li Changsheng didn't like this woman very much. This kind of person was unruly and willful and spoke in a high and mighty manner. She was one of the types of people he hated the most. His tone was equally cold and even a little annoyed. When Ilay saw this annoyance, she could no longer suppress her anger. With a bang, she slammed her jade hand on the table and pointed her finger at Li Changsheng's nose. She yelled, "Where did this bumpkin come from? How dare you speak to me like this? I don't care if you lied to Brother Xian or not. If you dare to provoke me, I'll make sure you're in for it." As she spoke, she picked up the wine glass and splashed it directly at Li Changsheng. With Li Changsheng's skills, this water definitely wouldn't hit him. However, before Li Changsheng could block it in time, a figure suddenly stood in front of him and blocked all the water. It was Dong Fian. Dong Fian's hair and clothes were instantly stained with wine. She looked like a drowned rat and was in a sorry state. No one had expected this to happen. At the side, Su Yang's eyes were filled with jealousy. His goddess actually blocked wine for someone else. Qi Xian was also a little dumbfounded. He didn't expect Ilay to be so bold as to splash water on Mr. Li, whom even his father respected, who knew that this wasn't the end. After splashing the water, seeing that it didn't hit Li Changsheng, Ilay was instantly enraged. She scolded, "You be asterisk, how dare you ruin my business? Do you believe that I'll make your Dong family bankrupt tomorrow, break your legs, and make you beg on the streets?" Dong Fian naturally knew that Ilay's status was very high. When she heard Ilay's words, her delicate body couldn't help but tremble. Her eyes were filled with fear. She didn't care about herself, but if she implicated her family, she would feel very guilty. At this moment, Li Changsheng slowly stood up with anger in his eyes. "Ilay, I didn't want to talk to you because you're a woman, but you made me very angry." Chapter 299. Huh, who do you think you are? You're so angry. This time, Ilay grabbed the wine bottle and was about to throw it at Li Changsheng. However, before she could throw it, the bottle was caught. She turned around and saw Qi Xian looking at her with a gloomy face. "Ilay, on account of your father's service to my family all these years, I've always tolerated you. Even if you did many outrageous things, I indulged you. But today, you dared to be rude to Mr. Li. I have to teach you a lesson." "What?" Ilay's eyes widened. "Brother Xian, what did you say? Don't forget how my father helped your Qi family. How could you say such things for this bumpkin?" "Shut up." Qi Xian roared and stretched out his hand. Slap! A slap landed on Ilay's face. Ilay was dumbfounded. Not only Ilay, but everyone else was dumbfounded as well. Everyone knew that Qi Xian treated Ilay very well and treated her like his own sister. Now, he actually slapped He Lei for Li Changsheng. How dare you hit me? He Lei covered her cheek. Her eyes were already red, but Qi Xian didn't take pity on her. Instead, he slapped her again. Slap. If it weren't for Uncle He, I would have killed you. Now, get back to the northwest. I don't want to see you again. Okay. He Lei laughed in anger. At the same time, she glared at Li Changsheng with hatred and turned to leave with her bag. Young Master Qi, Mo Yoji wanted to say something. However, Qi Xian waved his hand. It's fine. Let her leave. With that, he looked at Li Changsheng and was about to apologize, but Li Changsheng waved his hand. She is her, and you are you. You don't have to apologize for her. With that, he waved to a young lady in charge of service and asked her to bring Dong Fian to change her clothes. More than 10 minutes later, Dong Fian walked back in a new set of clothes. Li Changsheng asked her to sit beside him. For the first time, he felt that this girl was quite beautiful. The atmosphere was a little awkward. Even the music at the banquet had stopped. As the host, Ho Jingtai naturally couldn't let the banquet continue to be awkward. He took the initiative to say, Young Master Qi, I didn't expect you to be so skilled. Back then, you knocked Qin Beichun down in one move. Ho Jingtai was just an ordinary person. Naturally, he did not know that Qi Xian's move would cause Qin Beichun to spend the rest of his life in a hospital bed. However, in his opinion, it was already very impressive. At the very least, when Qi Xian rushed over, he did not see Qi Xian's figure clearly. It's all right. Qi Xian smiled modestly. I heard that Mr. Li is a combat coach. Mo Yoji also took the initiative to start a conversation and looked at Li Changsheng. Yeah, I'm teaching in Qingzhou University's combat team. I wonder how powerful Mr. Li's combat skills are. How does young Master Qi compare? I should be stronger than Qi Xian. After hearing this, Qi Xian smiled and did not refute. He was very strong, so strong that even his father, Qi Yu's two fierce generals, Nalin Yuding and He Yiming, were not his opponents. However, Li Changsheng was someone his father respected. He could not undermine him, even though, in his opinion, the so-called combat skills were just fancy but impractical. Hearing Li Changsheng's words, Ho Jingtai's face showed some displeasure. Li Changsheng's words were clearly to embarrass Qi Xian. However, seeing that Qi Xian did not say anything, he could not say much. I heard that a real martial artist can grab a blade with his bare hands. I wonder if it's true? Mo Yoji was a little interested. That's just an ordinary martial artist. A truly powerful martial artist can even dodge a bullet. Hearing this, Qi Xian nodded slightly. As far as he knew, there were indeed such existences. However, they were all godlike existences. With his current strength, although he was very powerful, he could not do it. Mr. Li, have you ever seen someone who can dodge a bullet? A young master next to him was also interested. Of course, I've seen it because I can do it. Li Changsheng smiled slightly. He did not mind showing some of his strength sometimes. However, when he said this, many people were stunned and then laughed out loud. This is too much a braggart. How is it possible to dodge a bullet? Even Qi Xian could not help but frown slightly. Those who could dodge a bullet were godlike existences, and they could only do so at a certain distance. If the distance was too close, even such existences might not be able to dodge and would die. As far as he knew, only his father could do it. However, that was his father. Although Li Changsheng could gain his father's respect, he would not believe that Li Changsheng had the same terrifying strength as his father. At this time, Ho Jingtai, who was sitting next to him, seemed to have thought of something. His eyes lit up, and he said with a smile, Mr. Li, are you kidding? You can dodge a bullet. Why don't I believe it? Hearing Ho Jingtai's words, Wang Dongsheng secretly cursed in his heart. Judging from the look in Ho Jingtai's eyes, he clearly had a bad idea. Just as he was about to quietly remind Li Changsheng, he saw Li Changsheng nod. This is the truth. It doesn't matter if you believe it or not. Since Mr. Li said so, I'd like to see it for myself. I don't have a gun, but this floor below happens to be an archery club opened by my family. There are high-strength composite bows. Although the speed is not as fast as a bullet, it's still very terrifying. I wonder if Mr. Li is willing to show us. Ho Jingtai looked at Li Changsheng playfully. He was just saying so. He knew that Li Changsheng would definitely not dare to agree. What he wanted was for Li Changsheng to refuse. As long as Li Changsheng refused, he would be exposed and show that he was bragging. Beside him, Qi Xian couldn't help but shake his head. This Mr. Li was bragging for no reason. Now he was embarrassed. Although it was a crossbow arrow, it was slower than a bullet. Even with Qi Xian's strength, he could barely dodge it. In Qi Xian's opinion, Li Changsheng was definitely not as good as him. Su Jing, Wang Dongsheng, and the others couldn't help but lower their heads. The other party was too bad. First, he got Li Changsheng to say something, and then he made such a request. Wasn't it obvious that he wanted to hurt Li Changsheng? Unfortunately, Li Changsheng had foolishly jumped into the trap. Now he could only lose face. Otherwise, if he really tried to dodge the crossbow arrow and was accidentally shot, it would be tragic. And Ho Jingtai's face finally showed a little smile. Today he had been humiliated several times by Li Changsheng. Finally, he saw Li Changsheng losing face. Suyang also clenched his fists. He felt a sense of pleasure in his heart. Looking at his goddess, sitting close to Li Changsheng, looking at Li Changsheng's affectionate gaze, his heart was filled with incomparable pain. Fian, this time you should finally know this guy's true colors. Suyang thought so. As for Ningxin, and Xiaoran was also shaking her head. Li Changsheng had set a trap for himself, and then trapped himself. Was there anything more tragic than this? All eyes were focused on Li Changsheng. Let's see how he deals with it. Most of them were mocking and disdainful. Although you know young Master Qi Xian, you can't brag so casually. It'll be embarrassing if it's exposed. Everyone thought in their hearts. Since young Master Ho wants to see it, it's not impossible. Li Changsheng said. When everyone heard it, their eyes widened. Chapter 300. No way. He really dared to agree. Oh my God, how big a heart does he have? I think he was forced to this extent. He has no choice but to agree. I'm afraid he'll find a way to refuse the performance later. Such remarks received the approval of many people. Indeed, Li Changsheng had already boasted. If he refused, he would only invite ridicule and disdain from the crowd. If he agreed now, he could find a reason later. It could also be considered as giving himself a way out. Ho Jingtai naturally thought of this possibility. He just sneered and said, Mr. Li, in that case, we might as well move to the lower level and let everyone see. Ho Jingtai's purpose was to embarrass Li Changsheng, but he didn't necessarily want Li Changsheng to perform anything. After all, Li Changsheng and Qi Xian's relationship was not ordinary. If he really hurt Li Changsheng, he wouldn't be able to explain it to Qi Xian. Unexpectedly, Li Changsheng shook his head. Wait a minute, I still have something to say. Hearing Li Changsheng's words, Ho Jingtai sneered. Sure enough, he was going to find an excuse to refuse. When Qi Xian heard Li Changsheng agree, he was already very disappointed with Li Changsheng. Now that he heard Li Changsheng's words, he couldn't help shaking his head. He thought, this is the person that father respects so much. I didn't expect him to be such a braggart. I slapped He Lei for such a guy. I really feel bad for He Lei. Why? Is Mr. Li feeling unwell and can't perform today? I can understand. Ho Jingtai said so, but his words were clearly filled with ridicule and ridicule. Su Jing, Wang Dongsheng, and the others couldn't help but lower their heads, feeling a little flustered. It was really embarrassing to go back on what he had said in front of so many people. I mean, it's boring to just perform. Why don't we have some fun? Li Changsheng said with a smile. Because of Qi Xian, Ho Jingtai, the son of the richest man in the country, did not dare to do anything to Li Changsheng. However, he used the loophole in Li Changsheng's words to scheme against him. He did not have any good intentions. If Ho Jingtai did not like Li Changsheng and openly challenged him, Li Changsheng would still respect him as a man. However, scheming and playing tricks was the behavior that Li Changsheng hated the most. Of course, he had to make Ho Jingtai pay a price. I wonder what kind of prize Mr. Li wants. Ho Jingtai was a little surprised. Li Changsheng was not looking for an excuse to refuse, but was really going to perform. He felt that the young man in front of him had a brain cramp. The club had composite bows that could shoot at a speed of 200 meters per second. Although it was not as good as a bullet, it was still very scary. At close range, it was not inferior to a bullet. He did not believe that anyone could dodge it. Beside him, Qi Xian's eyes also revealed a strange look. Li Changsheng actually wants to perform for everyone. Doesn't he know how fast an arrow shot from a composite bow is? Even a beast can't dodge it. On the other side, Su Jing and the others also looked worried. They only felt that Li Changsheng must be crazy. How could he do such a dangerous thing? The prize I want is very simple. That is some money. I heard that Mr. Ho's family is the richest in Suzhou. You must not be short of money. How about this? If I dodge the arrow, Mr. Ho, you can use 100 million as the prize. How about that? 100 million? Ho Jingtai's pupils shrank slightly. His family was very rich, but 100 million was not a small amount. But soon, he sneered, "Of course, but Mr. Li must sign an agreement that if you're injured or killed by an arrow, you will be exempted from the Ho family's responsibility. Otherwise, the club's coaches will not dare to shoot at you." Ho Jingtai sneered. He was already very unhappy with Li Changsheng, but because of Qi Xian, he did not dare to do anything to Li Changsheng. But now it was different. Li Changsheng took the initiative to ask. Even if he shot Li Changsheng fair and square, he could not say anything. Although the Qi family was domineering, they had always been the most reasonable. After that, he looked at Qi Xian. "Mr. Qi, what do you think?" He wanted a promise from Qi Xian because he was a very observant person. At that time, he found that when Li Changsheng said that he could dodge the bullet, Qi Xian's eyes showed disappointment. That frown told him that perhaps Mr. Qi Xian also wanted to teach Li Changsheng a lesson. This, Qi Xian rubbed his temples. Li Changsheng's arrogance and recklessness made him very angry. But after all, Li Changsheng was someone that even his father respected. If he was really shot to death, it would be difficult to explain. It's just a game. But remember not to shoot at the vital parts later. Qi Xian said. Ho Jingtai's face instantly lit up. "Okay, then let's go down. I'll get the archers ready first." "Wait a minute." Li Changsheng spoke again. "I still have something to say." Suddenly, Su Jing and the others had the urge to cover their faces. After talking for so long, was he going back on his word now? It was better to go back on his word earlier. At this time, everything was set. If he went back on his word, it would be very embarrassing. Qi Xian's eyes were full of disdain. Sure enough, the other party was bragging. Ho Jingtai was slightly disappointed. Although he could not really kill Li Changsheng in front of Qi Xian, he would feel better if he shot a few arrows in his leg and shoulder to let him suffer some physical pain. He did not expect Li Changsheng to go back on his word at this time. On the other side, Chun Junjie clenched his fists and said in his heart, "Don't go back on your word. Don't go back on your word." He really wanted to see Li Changsheng being taught a lesson. Of course, he could not do it, but Ho Jingtai could. What I mean is, I've thought about it. 100 million is too little. If I can catch the arrow when it's shot first, the difficulty should be increased a lot. The prize can also be increased a little. After Li Changsheng finished speaking, even Su Jing and the others looked up in shock. Chun Junjie's mouth was wide open, his face full of surprise. Even Qi Xian was stunned. He suspected that he had heard wrong. What is Li Changsheng going to do? It was already very impressive to be able to dodge the arrow when it was shot. With Qi Xian's strength, he could barely do this. But it was impossible to catch the arrow when it was shot. This and dodging were two completely different concepts. The difficulty of catching an arrow at a high speed was almost the same as dodging a bullet. Qi Xian absolutely did not believe that Li Changsheng could do this. He looked at Li Changsheng as if he was looking at a lunatic. It was not only Qi Xian. Everyone present had the same thought. Chapter 301. Ho Jingtai already had a smile on his face. "How much do you want, Mr. Li?" In his opinion, this was something that Li Changsheng couldn't do at all. Betting was just a joke. Then 1 billion. Ho Jingtai heard this number. Although he knew that Li Changsheng couldn't take it away, his heart still trembled. Suzhou was only a small place. Although his family was the richest in Suzhou, 1 billion was not a small number. But soon he nodded. Even if Li Changsheng asked for 10 billion, he would dare to agree, because it was just a number that Li Changsheng couldn't do. The surrounding people were all shaking their heads. Li Changsheng was actually seriously bargaining with Hou Jingtai for something that was impossible to accomplish. In their eyes, this was clearly laughable. Mr. Li, I think we should forget it. It's too dangerous. Dong Fian, who had always admired Li Changsheng, couldn't help but remind him in a low voice. In her opinion, there was no chance of winning at all. It's okay. Li Changsheng smiled. Let's go to the shooting club downstairs. With that, he took the lead and walked away. Qi Xian wanted to say something, but seeing Li Changsheng's action, he didn't say anything. Although Li Changsheng was his father's VIP, everyone should pay the price for their arrogance and ignorance. He might have a mysterious identity and was very powerful, but he was still too young. Qi Xian shook his head and followed. Seeing that Qi Xian didn't stop him, Hou Jingtai breathed a sigh of relief. He couldn't wait to teach Li Changsheng a lesson. If Qi Xian didn't stop him, his plan could continue. They took the elevator to the lower floor. It was indeed a shooting club. When they walked in, they heard the sound of bowstrings vibrating in the air. All the people at the banquet followed them down. For a moment, the empty hall of the club seemed to be bustling. Seeing Hou Jingtai, the club's coaches hurried to greet him. Hou Jingtai was their boss. Hou Jingtai chose the coach with the best skills, who was said to have won several championships. Then he explained the bet between him and Li Changsheng. The champion looked at Li Changsheng as if he was looking at a monster, as if he was looking at an alien. There was actually someone who wanted to catch his flying arrow with their bare hands. Was there a mistake? If these words hadn't come from Hou Jingtai's mouth, if the people standing in front of him weren't the top young masters of Suzhou's upper circle, he really wanted to slap himself to see if he was dreaming. Remember, don't shoot at the vitals when you shoot. Hou Jingtai exhorted. Although he really wanted to teach Li Changsheng a lesson, he also knew that Li Changsheng's identity was special and did not want to offend Qi Xian because of this. All right, I got it. The coach nodded. Let alone Hou Jingtai's order. Even if Hou Jingtai didn't order him, he wouldn't dare to shoot Li Changsheng's vitals. If he shot Li Changsheng to death, it would be terrible. All right, you can start, Qi Xian said impatiently. In his opinion, this was a farce where Li Changsheng bragged but couldn't find a way out for himself. It wouldn't start at all. Li Changsheng would find another reason to give up this bet, so he didn't have any expectations at all. Not only Qi Xian, but many people actually thought so. Standing there as a target to be shot at and reaching out to catch the arrow, in everyone's opinion, this was simply crazy and not something a normal person would say. Mr. Li, you can start. Hou Jingtai looked at Li Changsheng with a playful expression and said. At this time, Li Changsheng glanced at the 7 or 8 coaches next to Hou Jingtai. As if thinking of something, he said, Wait a minute, I have something to say. Sure enough, Qi Xian shook his head. If it weren't for Li Changsheng's special identity, he would have already turned around and left. This was simply a waste of his time. Sounds of disdain came from all around. Li Changsheng's behavior confirmed their conjecture, which made them despise him in their hearts. At this time, Hou Jingtai asked patiently, I don't know if Mr. Li has anything else to say. If Mr. Li feels unwell or feels that this game is too dangerous, let's not continue. Hou Jingtai's words were actually meant to provoke Li Changsheng. Li Changsheng had made him lose face several times today. He really wanted to see Li Changsheng's miserable, helpless, and pitiful appearance after being shot by an arrow. Of course not. Li Changsheng shook his head. I saw that you have 8 coaches here and suddenly had an idea. How about this? You let 8 coaches shoot arrows at me at the same time, and then I'll catch all the arrows with my bare hands. This way, the difficulty will be dozens of times higher than before. You can also double the reward. How about 300 billion? What? Hou Jingtai exclaimed in an instant. It wasn't because of Li Changsheng's exorbitant demand. Forget 300 billion, even if it was 3 trillion, as long as he couldn't take it away, it wouldn't be an empty promise. He was surprised that Li Changsheng dared to say such a rule. 8 people shoot arrows at the same time and want to catch the arrows with their bare hands. What a joke. Do you really think you are a Superman, an immortal, an omnipotent god of war? When such words came out, not to mention Ho Jingtai, everyone felt as if they had been struck by lightning. Is this guy here to make fun of us? Qi Xian's hand, that was wiping his glasses, squeezed hard and crushed them into pieces. Are you serious? Qi Xian asked word by word. Of course. Li Chongqing nodded. Ho Jingtai was speechless. What? You don't dare to bet? Li Chongqing looked indifferent. This Ho Jingtai really wanted to teach Li Chongqing a lesson. But with 8 people shooting arrows, what if Li Chongqing was killed by Li Chongqing? I can sign a contract, as he said. If I die, it has nothing to do with you. Young Master Qi Xian will be my witness. Of course, if I win, you have to give me the 300 billion you promised. If you go back on your word, it will be disrespectful to young Master Qi Xian. Hearing Li Chongqing's words, Ho Jingtai could not help sneering. He thought to himself, since you want to die, there is no other way. So, he looked at Qi Xian. At this time, Qi Xian was also interested. He nodded and said, Okay, I want to see how bold you are. After that, he immediately took out 2 pieces of white paper and wrote the contract. Both parties pressed their fingerprints. Then, Li Chongqing walked directly to the open space and said to the 8 archery coaches, You can shoot at me now. Until now, everyone still felt as if they were dreaming. Li Chongqing was really going to do that. You can stand further away. One coach was the first to speak. This was because Li Chongqing was standing too close. At such a close distance, even if he wanted to dodge one arrow, it would be very difficult. It was simply impossible for Li Chongqing to dodge 8 arrows at once and catch them directly. Unexpectedly, Li Chongqing shook his head. No need, this distance is enough. The 8 coaches looked at Ho Jingtai. After all, the risk was too great. If they were not careful, they could lose their lives. Ho Jingtai nodded. Since he had already signed, he naturally had nothing to fear. If Li Chongqing died, so be it. So, the 8 coaches knocked their arrows and drew their bows, aiming at Li Chongqing's body. Suddenly, the field fell into silence. Li Chongqing actually did that. He was too bold. Wait a minute. Just then, Dong Fian stood up. Mr. Li, you can't do such a dangerous thing. You will die. Actually, Su Jing and Wang Dongsheng also wanted to do that, but Dong Fian beat them to it. However, Li Chongqing just smiled. Trust me, and don't question my decision. I will never go back on my decision. Li Chongqing naturally knew that Dong Fian had good intentions, but no one could interfere with his life. Dong Fian opened her mouth. She felt Li Chongqing's determination. Forget it. Since he wants to die, why do you have to stop him? There is no way to wake up a person who is pretending to be asleep, and there is no way to stop a person who wants to die. Qi Xian sighed. He admired Li Chongqing for doing what he said. However, he also felt disdain in his heart. A person who cared so much about his face was already stupid in his opinion. He doesn't deserve my father's respect, let alone mine. Qi Xian thought silently in his heart. Can we start? Ho Jingtai said coldly. He was already a little impatient. Of course. Li Chongqing nodded and then closed his eyes. This scene caused a complete uproar. Oh my God! Has he resigned himself to his fate, waiting to be shot through by the arrow? He played so many tricks before. He might as well just admit defeat. I really don't understand why. Is he willing to give up his life for his face? I think he is a fool. He deserves to die. All kinds of voices sounded. Chen Junjie was already jumping up in excitement. He thought viciously, it's better to shoot this bastard to death. Dong Fian's eyes were already red. Qi Xian also closed his eyes. No matter what his opinion of Li Chongqing was, this person who his father respected and treated with great respect was going to die now. Chapter 302. Begin. Ho Jingtai said coldly. Instantly, 8 composite bows and 8 scopes locked onto Li Chongqing. Swoosh! 8 long arrows pierced through the air with an ear-piercing sound. No! Dong Fian's eyes were bloodshot as she covered her eyes. Su Jing, Wang Dongsheng, and the others couldn't help but turn their heads away. Seeing the tragic scene that was about to unfold, everyone thought that Li Changsheng would be pierced by 8 arrows at the same time. Even if he didn't die, he would be seriously injured. However, in the next second, Li Changsheng was still standing there steadily. He was holding 4 arrows in each hand. Silence. Dead silence. Everyone's eyes were filled with disbelief. Dong Fian slowly pulled her hands away from her eyes. Her eyes suddenly widened, and then she burst into tears of joy. Su Jing, Wang Dongsheng, and Wei, who were also trembling with excitement. As for the others, their faces were filled with disbelief, especially Qi Xian. His head buzzed, as if he had seen the greatest miracle of the 21st century. Hou Jingtai cried out in alarm. Impossible! Then he took 2 steps back. 300 billion. He had made a 300 billion bet with Li Changsheng. It was enough to bankrupt his family. Chen Junjie looked as if he had seen a ghost. The hideous smile on his face turned into deep fear. Li Changsheng's martial prowess could reach such a level. It was unimaginable. Everyone's face changed. Li Changsheng had created a miracle that they couldn't believe even after witnessing it with their own eyes. No, I can't let him take 300 billion for nothing. Hou Jingtai's eyes were filled with madness. Without 300 billion, the whole family was nothing. They would fall from the throne of Suzhou. All the glory they had would be stripped away, and they might even end up on the streets. He wouldn't allow it. Never. He suddenly raised his head. With bloodshot eyes, he shouted to the 8 shooting instructors, "Continue shooting until he's dead." Indeed, the contract only said to catch the arrows. It didn't say how many rounds of shooting. As soon as Hou Jingtai finished speaking, Qi Xian's eyes were already filled with killing intent. However, the 8 coaches had already drawn their bows and shot 3 arrows in a row. By the time Qi Xian reacted, the arrows had already been shot. It's over. Qi Xian's veins bulged as killing intent flashed wildly in his eyes. Hou Jingtai is too shameless. He deserves to die. At the same time, a huge wave of regret welled up in his heart. Li Changsheng was worthy of respect. Being able to catch the 8 flying arrows proved that he was more powerful than his father. In fact, he had already recognized Li Changsheng's position in his heart, but now he was going to die in the hands of a villain. He stared fixedly at Hou Jingtai. If Li Changsheng died, he swore that he would turn the whole clan into a river of blood. Seeing Qi Xian's eyes, Hou Jingtai's heart was filled with fear. He originally thought that Li Changsheng wasn't that important to Qi Xian. Otherwise, Qi Xian wouldn't have allowed Li Changsheng to make a bet with him. But now, seeing the killing intent and determination in Qi Xian's eyes, he regretted it. If he killed Li Changsheng and the Qi clan's crazy revenge, the whole clan would also be finished. On the other side, Chen Junjie couldn't help laughing out loud. Ha ha! Retribution! Retribution! He's still going to die. Su Jing and the others' eyes were already red. No matter how strong Li Changsheng was, how could he dodge the consecutive rounds of shooting? Even the other unimportant people were sighing. Li Changsheng had created a miracle, but he died in the hands of a despicable person. Swish! Swish! Several arrows fell. Everyone couldn't bear to look directly because there was no chance of survival. However, after a few arrows flew over, they saw a figure moving back and forth, holding dozens of long arrows in his arms. At this moment, the world was silent. He's not dead. He's not dead. Dong Fian jumped up in excitement. Her beautiful cheeks were already covered in tears. Her lips trembled, and her eyes were filled with joy. Su Jing, Wang Dongsheng, and the rest were also jumping up and down in joy. Qi Xian, who was beside them, was unaware that his nails were digging into his palms. He was trying his best to suppress the ecstasy in his heart, but he still couldn't help it, and his palms trembled slightly. Li Changsheng did it. He did it. Hou Jingtai had already collapsed to the ground with a plop. 300 billion was gone. Moreover, Li Changsheng was so terrifying. He was afraid that he would suffer the revenge of Li Changsheng and Qi Xian. After today, he would be the center of the whole clan, and the whole clan would perish because of him. On the other side, Chun Junjie was so angry that he pounded the ground with his fist. He was filled with hatred, anger, and even more fear. How could this be? Why isn't he dead? He was already in despair. Su Yang, who was also looking forward to Li Changxing's death, didn't show it on his face. However, the bulging veins on his fingers showed that he wasn't calm at all. What are you all in a daze for? There should be applause here. Li Changxing smiled slightly. At the same time, a trace of coldness flashed in his eyes. This Ho Jingtai was too shameless, and it made him want to kill him. Soon, the stunned crowd came back to their senses, and the whole place was filled with enthusiastic applause. Dong Fian threw herself into Li Changxing's arms like a butterfly and sobbed. Su Jing originally wanted to go over and give Li Changxing a hug, but after seeing Dong Fian, she stopped in her tracks. After comforting Dong Fian, Li Changxing walked over to Qi Xian's side under everyone's surprised gazes. "Mr. Li, I'm sorry. I misunderstood you previously." Qi Xian bowed to Li Changxing very respectfully to express his respect. The strong should be respected. It's okay. If I were you, I would think so too. Li Changxing could understand Qi Xian's feelings. After all, immortal cultivators were as rare as phoenix feathers and unicorn horns in the world, let alone a monster like him. Remember to ask for payment from the Ho family for me. Also, the Ho family is a little despicable. Li Changxing didn't ask Qi Xian to do anything, but Qi Xian understood from Li Changxing's words. "Okay, Mr. Li, I'll send someone to send the money to you as soon as I get it. As for the Ho family, from now on, there won't be a family in Suzhou." "Okay." Li Changxing nodded. Qi Xian's character was very similar to Qi Yu's. He was straightforward and didn't need to say much. "Okay, that's all for today. I'm also a little tired." Li Changxing turned and left. Wang Dongsheng and the others also reacted and followed Li Changxing out. In the end, everyone left, leaving only Ho Jingtai, who was paralyzed and lost, and Chun Junjie, who was hiding in the corner with hatred in his eyes. "Li Changxing, although you don't want to be friends with me, I'll definitely be your friend." After exiting the building, and Shaoran blocked Li Changxing's path and said in a serious tone. Li Changxing smiled. He didn't hate this girl, but he certainly didn't like her. Ningxin said goodbye to Li Changxing in a very elegant manner. "Mr. Li, I heard that you're going back to Qingzhou soon. I'm leaving tomorrow and going back to school. I hope we'll meet again." "Okay." Li Changxing nodded and then got into Wang Dongxing's car. The moment he turned around, Ningxin couldn't help but wrinkle her nose. "Seriously, why didn't you ask for my phone number? I heard that you're studying at Qingzhou University. I'll remember it." Ningxin thought silently. Chapter 303. When he returned to the Wang family, Wang Heng was already home. Wang Heng was also present at the banquet and witnessed everything that Li Changxing had done. His attitude towards Li Changxing was even more respectful as he knew that his son had truly made friends with an important figure. Li Changxing packed his things and prepared to return to Qingzhou the next day. The next morning, when he woke up, he heard Wang Dongxing knocking on the door and saying that Qi Xian had come to visit him. Li Changxing wasn't surprised. Qi Xian must have talked to his father, Qi Yu, about what happened in Suzhou. Qi must have told his son something. As expected, Qi Xian bowed deeply to Li Changxing as soon as he came in. Wang Heng and the others at the side were stunned. Qi Xian bowed to Li Changxing yesterday because he had misunderstood Li Changxing and affirmed Li Changxing's abilities. But today he bowed as well. This was different. This was respect towards Li Changxing. It was the attitude of a subordinate. The more they thought about it, the more shocked they were. What kind of identity did he have to make someone like Qi Xian treat him so respectfully? "Mr. Li, I called my father yesterday. My father asked me to greet you on his behalf." The moment these words left his mouth, everyone present was dumbfounded. Qi Xian's father was naturally the sickly Qi Yu. Even the sickly Qi Yu had to greet Li Changxing. This was too terrifying. Seeing everyone's shocked expressions, Li Changxing smiled bitterly. He knew that it was impossible for him to keep a low profile. Mr. Li, this is 300 billion. It's the prize for winning the Ho family. I've already sent all the Ho family members to dig coal. Okay. Li Chongqing took the bank card. This was something that he deserved. After doing all this, Li Chongqing packed his luggage and returned to Qingzhou with Su Jing and the others. At this moment, Qi Xian hesitated and said, Mr. Li, I have a request. It's a personal matter. Oh, Li Chongqing was puzzled. What is it? Speak. I have a friend who is very obsessed with martial arts. I told her about your deeds yesterday, and she insisted on meeting you. I wonder if you could do me a favor and come with me to meet her? No. Li Chongqing shook his head. I'm going back to school in Qingzhou. He directly refused. Although the other party was Qi Yu's son, Li Chongqing was not some random cat or dog that anyone could meet. When Qi Xian heard this, he immediately became anxious and said in a low voice, It's just that my friend wants to meet you, so I naturally wouldn't dare to trouble you. However, I heard from my father that you are very interested in spiritual herbs. My friend's family has an ancestral ginseng that should be more than 3,000 years old. Sure enough, as soon as Qi Xian finished speaking, Li Chongqing's eyes lit up, but he quickly looked at Qi Xian again. Is this your father's idea? Otherwise, how would you know my weakness? Hearing this, Qi Xian smiled awkwardly and nodded. Yes, my father said that because my friend is not an ordinary friend. She's a girl that I like. But she doesn't like you, right? As soon as Li Chongqing spoke, Qi Xian became even more embarrassed, and even his face turned slightly red. This made Wang Dongsheng and the others very surprised. The young master of the Qi family was famous for being cold-blooded, but he actually had such a boyish side to him. All right, I promise you. After saying that, he looked at Su Jing and the others. It's fine, we'll return to Qingzhou first. Su Jing and the others were very tactful. Okay, let's go then. Li Chongsheng didn't bring much with him. He only took a leather bag and threw it in Qi Xian's car before setting off with Qi Xian. Not long after he left, a red Maserati stopped at the entrance of Wang Dongsheng's villa. Dong Fian walked in, dressed up beautifully, but when she found out that Li Chongsheng had left, her entire person seemed to be gloomy. She had dressed up for Li Chongsheng. A woman would dress up for her lover. Unfortunately, Li Chongsheng wasn't here. What was the use of this gorgeous appearance? No matter where you go, you have to go back to Qingzhou to study. I'll go to Qingzhou to find you, Dong Fian muttered before she left. Li Chongsheng sat in Qi Xian's car and headed north. After driving for about 10 kilometers, they got off the highway and walked on a small road in the countryside. Along the way, he found out that Qi Xian didn't come to Suzhou because of the Ho family's invitation. The richest man in Suzhou didn't care about Qi Xian at all. He came to Suzhou because his friend was in Suzhou. On the rugged road, Li Chongqing's eyes revealed some doubts. Don't tell me your friend lives in this mountain? The road ahead was getting harder and harder. They were about to enter the mountain. Qi Xian nodded with a bitter smile. When my friend was young, she saw a master flying across the sky. Since then, she was bewitched and began to seek immortality and Tao. Because she was her father's only daughter, he doted on her very much. Although he tried to persuade her several times that seeking immortality and Tao was too far-fetched, she didn't listen and just let her be. Every once in a while, she would stay in a villa in the mountains for a few days. She's not afraid of being laughed at by Mr. Li. I like her, but she's obsessed with cultivation. After she entered the villa, no one was allowed to disturb her. I want to see her very much, so I could only use your name to tell her about your deeds. She's very interested in your martial arts. Qi Xian laughed bitterly. To think that he, first young Master Qi, had countless women by his side, but the only one he liked didn't like him. He even had to rely on Li Chongsheng as an excuse to meet her. I see. Li Chongsheng nodded to show that he understood. It was probably because that woman had seen immortal cultivators when she was young. However, immortal cultivators who could fly had to be at least in the finger profound realm. That woman was about the same age as Qi Xian. If she had seen such a master when she was young, it meant that there were still masters above the finger profound realm on Earth. They just didn't show themselves. Li Chongsheng judged in his heart. Soon, The two came to the end of the path. It was lush and green in front of them, with fog lingering around. It really felt like a fairyland. At the end of the path, they saw a villa. Outside the villa, Li Changsheng saw many bodyguards in suits patrolling. He immediately understood that the other party was a rich young lady. Since she came to live in the mountains, her father must be afraid that something would happen to her, so he sent bodyguards to protect her. When the two appeared, a bodyguard immediately came out. When he saw that it was Qi Xian, he bowed respectfully. Young Master Qi, of course, they knew each other. Please help me inform your young lady. Qi Xian looked in the direction of the villa with fervent eyes. Li Changsheng, on the other hand, was casually observing his surroundings. The air in the mountains was fresh, and the spiritual qi was much richer than outside. Living here, it was indeed better to cultivate than outside. However, although that girl had been obsessed with cultivation all these years and had found many ancient books on cultivation, without a master to lead the way, it wasn't so easy for her to embark on the path of cultivation. Her father found some martial arts masters to teach her martial arts. However, that girl didn't care for ordinary martial arts. She only wanted to learn how to fly. However, she didn't know that ordinary warriors couldn't really fly, and it wasn't so easy to invite a cultivator. Chapter 304. A distinguished guest came to the villa a few days ago. He knows Dharma spells and is a Taoist cultivator. He's very powerful and is teaching Miss Xia the divine powers to reach the golden core Tao. The bodyguard said to Qi Xian with a hint of awe in his voice. Obviously, he was impressed by the master. Qi Xian was puzzled. I was on the phone with Uncle Xia a few days ago. I didn't hear that Xia Lin had found any Taoist cultivator. How did such a person with divine powers suddenly appear? Qi Xian was still puzzled. Although Xia Lin was obsessed with Taoist cultivation, she should be studying in school now. Why would she come to this villa in the mountains at this time? Everything made sense now. So she really found the Taoist cultivator she has been looking for. Young Master Zeng introduced him to Miss Xia. The bodyguard knew the relationship between Qi Xian and the Xia family, so he naturally told him everything he knew. You mean Zeng Buxiong? Qi Xian couldn't help but frown. This was a name he hated. His face was a little ugly. What? Does young Master Zeng have a grudge against you? Li Changsheng asked in confusion. And I have a grudge, Qi Xian said in a deep voice. He also likes Xia Lin and has been competing with me all these years. If he was an ordinary person, I would have taught him a lesson. But he and Xia Lin grew up together, and he is the son of an elder of the Hong sect. The Hong sect is the largest gang in the world. Although the Qi family is powerful in the north, there is still a certain gap between us and the Hong sect. So he is a love rival. Li Changxing nodded. He understood. May I know the identity of the girl you like? Indeed, if she could be a childhood sweetheart with the son of an elder of the Hong sect, she must have a high status. The girl I like is called Xia Lin. Her father is the leader of the Qing gang. I see. Li Changxing nodded. The Hong sect and the Qing gang were originally the two largest gangs in Huaxia. They had existed since the Republic of China and had a long history. He had long known of the existence of these two gangs, but he didn't expect them to still be so powerful in modern times. Mr. Li, I want to ask you a favor, Qi Xian suddenly said. Speak. Li Changxing nodded. He had come this time for the ginseng. Moreover, Qi Xian was Qi Yu's son. If he could help, he would naturally help. That Zeng Buxiong introducing a martial arts expert to Charlene will probably make her happy, and I definitely can't let Charlene put all her attention on him. So in a while, I want to ask Mister to show your strength at an appropriate time and defeat the expert brought by Zeng Buxiong. Of course, if the other party is really a martial arts expert, then Mister doesn't need to force it. In Qi Xian's opinion, since Li Changsheng could catch the arrow with his bare hands, his strength was definitely extremely powerful. However, this was still the strength of the human world. If the other party was really a cultivator and knew supernatural powers, then obviously Li Changsheng would not be able to defeat him. In the past, Qi Xian also didn't believe in the existence of cultivators. But after accompanying Charlene in her search for immortality all these years, he had a little understanding of the cultivation world and knew that cultivators truly possessed all sorts of inconceivable powers. Okay, Li Changxing nodded. He didn't care. Whether the other party was a sorcerer or a cultivator, he wouldn't take it to heart. Just now, a bodyguard went in to report. Soon, footsteps were heard from the villa. A man and a woman walked out. The woman was wearing a cyan ancient costume and had long hair. She was indeed a heavenly beauty. Next to the woman was a handsome young man in a suit. He had sharp features and bright eyes. He was a very masculine man. Brother Qi Xian, you're here? After seeing Qi Xian, the woman's face lit up. The young man next to the woman didn't speak. He didn't hide his hostility towards Qi Xian at all. Charlene, I heard that you came to the Suzhou villa. I happened to pass by Suzhou, so I came to see you. Qi Xian's gaze towards the woman was as gentle as water. Li Changsheng couldn't help but laugh in his heart. This time, he didn't just happen to pass by. He was clearly here to see the woman. As long as one fell in love, even the smartest person would become stupid. Brother Qi Xian, you said you were going to introduce me to a martial arts expert. Where is he? Charlene's gaze swept past Li Changsheng and then looked behind them. Her eyes were filled with doubt. Li Changsheng looked too ordinary. He was very thin and didn't have any unfathomable aura. Therefore, Charlene naturally excluded Li Changsheng. I forgot to introduce you. This is Mr. Li. He's the martial arts expert I brought to you. Qi Xian hurriedly introduced. Hello, I'm Li Changsheng. Li Changsheng took the initiative to extend his hand. Charlene, on the other hand, shook his hand suspiciously. Sung Buxiong couldn't help but chuckle. Qi Xian, if you want to see Charlene, just say so. Why did you find such a lame excuse to deceive Charlene? You're called a martial arts expert. I think you're just a country bumpkin. Ha! Qi Xian couldn't help but be angry. Sung Buxiong, shut your stinky mouth. Mr. Li isn't someone you can offend. Do you know that yesterday, Mr. Li Qi Xian was about to talk about Li Changsheng's battle record, but was interrupted by Sung Buxiong? Okay, stop bragging. So what if he's an expert? Charlene is looking for an immortal cultivator. Do you know what an immortal cultivator is? He's the kind of person who's out of this world. With that, he hurriedly said, Charlene, Master Huang is about to set up the array. Let's go take a look. Maybe we can learn something. Hearing Sung Buxiong's words, Charlene also looked anxious. Yeah, let's go in. With that, the two hurriedly walked into the villa, leaving Li Changsheng and Qi Xian in the same place. Charlene doesn't know Mr. Li's ability. Please don't take offense. Qi Xian hurriedly apologized to Li Changsheng. It's fine. Li Changsheng smiled and took the lead to walk into the villa. Walking into the villa, they saw a middle-aged man in a Taoist robe with a compass in his hand, walking around the villa. He carefully inserted the flags into the ground one by one. Strangely, the flags were made of wood, but he casually poked a hole in the hard floor. Even Qi Xian's eyes were full of surprise when he saw this scene. Originally, he didn't believe it when he heard that Sung Buxiong had found a cultivator for Charlene. But now, seeing the scene, he believed it. At this time, Charlene and Sung Buxiong were looking at the middle-aged man nervously, unwilling to miss any details. Qi Xian walked to Charlene and said, Sister Charlene, I didn't finish the introduction just now. Mr. Li is really capable. Yesterday, he caught the crossbow arrows shot by others with his bare hands. 8 people shot arrows at the same time, but he stopped them all with his hands. Qi Xian told Charlene about what happened at the shooting club yesterday. Sure enough, Charlene looked a little surprised. She turned back and looked at Li Changsheng curiously. Thank you for your hard work. You actually went through the trouble to bring me such a martial arts master. I was a little careless. Saying this, she took the initiative to walk to Li Changsheng and stretched out her hand. My name is Charlene. Nice to meet you. Li Changsheng reached out and shook her hand gently. Then, Charlene turned her head and continued to look at the middle-aged man who was walking back and forth. Obviously, the middle-aged man was more important than Li Changsheng in her heart. Sung Buxiong also heard Qi Xian's words. He looked at Li Changsheng with a little surprise, but soon shook his head and said, Qi Xian, It's really unusual that you can find such an expert. Unfortunately, he can't compare with Master Huang. No matter how powerful a martial artist is, he is still an ordinary person. Master Huang is a master. Originally, Qi Xian wanted to use Li Changsheng to show off in front of Charlene, but he didn't expect to be humiliated. He couldn't help but sigh in his heart. Who asked Mr. Li to not be a cultivator? If only I could find a cultivator for Charlene. Chapter 305. Look, there's a reaction from the array. Xiaolin pointed at the middle-aged man and shouted excitedly. Sure enough, after the middle-aged man inserted an array flag into the floor, a wind suddenly blew in the room. The doors and windows of the room were all closed, including the air conditioner. At this moment, the breeze was undoubtedly coming from the array. It's really an array. Even Qi Xian's eyes revealed a look of surprise. Originally, when he heard that Zhang Buxiong had brought a cultivator to Xiaolin, he still had doubts in his heart. After all, even with his status, he had never seen a real cultivator for so many years. Now, although the wind that rose out of nowhere was very light, he could clearly feel it. It seems that this Master Huang really knows magic. Qi Xian thought to himself. Zhang Buxiong, who was next to him, looked at Qi Xian with some pride. The meaning in his eyes was obvious. He had brought a cultivator to Xiaolin, but Qi Xian had not. As for Li Changsheng, no matter how powerful his martial arts were, could he beat the magic of immortals? While Master Huang was still setting up the array, Xiaolin turned around and walked to Li Changsheng. Mr. Li, I heard about your deeds from Qi Xian. You're really powerful. Although you can't compare to Master Huang, I still admire you very much. I've decided to introduce you to Master Huang in a while. Xiaolin seemed to have given Li Changsheng a great gift. She quietly looked at Li Changsheng, waiting for Li Changsheng to show a flattered expression. Although she was obsessed with seeking immortality in Tao, as the daughter of the Qin gang's leader, she naturally knew what it meant to have a powerful martial arts master. She was willing to form a good relationship with him. Li Changsheng smiled indifferently. What bullsh *T cultivation master? This Master Huang's cultivation was at most at the 8th level of Qi refining, which was equivalent to the peak of covert power among martial artists. In a real fight, he was not even as good as Song Yuanhang, whom he had defeated. It was only because the cultivator could show some mysterious means that Xiaolin worshipped him like a god. Li Changsheng didn't care, but Qi Xian couldn't take it calmly. He felt that his arrival this time was really asking for humiliation. He was completely inferior to his rival in love, Zhang Buxiong. But what could he do? He didn't have Zhang Buxiong's luck. At this moment, Qi Xian already had the intention to leave. Although he was also very curious about what would happen after Master Huang set up the formation. He knew that the more miraculous Master Huang's technique was, the more humiliating it would be for him. He looked at Li Changsheng and said, Mr. Li, why don't we leave first? Li Changsheng saw the disappointment in Qi Xian's eyes. Thinking that Qi Xian was the son of an old friend, he couldn't help but sigh and say, there's no rush. Why don't we wait and see what kind of matrix he can set up? And I think the steps of setting up this matrix are quite simple. I want to try it. What? Qi Xian's eyes widened. In his opinion, this was the work of an immortal. No matter how good Li Changsheng's martial arts were, he was still a warrior. It was like a racer who could race a car. No matter how good he was at racing, he couldn't fly a plane. They were two completely different systems. Zhang Buxiong and Xiaolin also heard Li Changsheng's words and turned around. Zhang Buxiong sneered. Friend, do you think setting up a matrix is child's play? Do you think you could just stick a few flags on the ground? You're too naive. Xiaolin couldn't help but shake her head. Originally, Li Changsheng was brought here by Qi Xian. Qi Xian described Li Changsheng to be so powerful that she wanted to befriend him. But now, she couldn't help but shake her head. This was a person who couldn't even recognize himself. How could an ordinary person casually learn the magic of immortals? Qi Xian, I know you want to show off in front of Sister Xiaolin, but people should know their own limits. You know he's a warrior, but you secretly instigate him to set up a matrix like Master Huang. Don't you think it's ridiculous? Sung Buxiong suddenly said. Qi Xian was stunned. I didn't let Li Changsheng set up the matrix. Xiao Lin's face revealed a look of realization. She couldn't help but look at Qi Xian strangely. This made Qi Xian blush. He felt like he couldn't clear his name, even if he jumped into the Yellow River. He couldn't help but complain about Li Changsheng in his heart. He thought that if this Mr. Li didn't show off, he wouldn't have been misunderstood by Xiao Lin. Mr. Li, this matrix is an immortal matrix. It's not as simple as you think. You can't do it. Your advantage is your martial arts. With your martial arts, you can make a name for yourself. Our Qin gang needs an expert like you. As long as you're willing to join, I can talk to my father and let you directly be the Hall Master. Xiao Lin looked at Li Changsheng and said solemnly, if you also want to learn matrix spells, that's fine. Today, Big Brother Tsung brought Master Huang here to let me become his disciple and learn matrix spells. When I learn matrix spells, if it's not a secret of the sect, I'll teach you some so that you can also embark on the path of cultivation. Xiao Lin sincerely wanted to recruit Li Changsheng. However, Li Changsheng himself was a Khanate realm immortal cultivator. Master Huang wasn't even worthy of his attention, so why would he need Xiao Lin to learn matrix spells from Master Huang and then teach them to him? However, she had good intentions, so he smiled and shook his head. No need. I think it's quite simple to set up the matrix. Huh. Xiao Lin was stunned for a moment. Then, she couldn't help but laugh and frown slightly. Originally, she quite admired Li Changsheng for having such a strong strength at such a young age. She didn't expect Li Changsheng to be so ignorant. She had already told him that the immortal's magic was not something that ordinary people could peek at. Did he think that he could set up a formation just by looking at it? Perhaps Li Changsheng's martial strength was good, and he was also a talent, but his temperament wasn't good. She already regretted trying to recruit Li Changsheng into the Qin gang. Fortunately, he didn't agree. If such an arrogant and ignorant person joined, it might cause a lot of trouble for the Qin gang. Mr. Li, I have to tell you that you can't brag so casually. Master Huang's matrix spells are beyond your imagination. Sing Buxiong's face carried a bit of ridicule. Qi Xian couldn't help but look at his feet. He felt very embarrassed, and his face was a bit flustered. Sing Buxiong still wanted to ridicule Li Changsheng, but before he could say anything, he heard a rumbling sound. Master Huang stomped his foot on the ground, and the whole villa shook 3 times. Then, the flags fluttered in the wind, and a cool breeze blew through the whole house. The breeze had a refreshing smell, and it instantly made people feel refreshed. Master Huang, what matrix is this? Xiao Lin couldn't help but go up to greet him. This is a spirit-gathering matrix. Do you see the 81 flags on the ground? Each of them is a treasure refined by my sect after several generations. These flags gather the surrounding spiritual energy, making the people living in the villa immune to all kinds of diseases, prolonging their lifespan, and making it twice the result with half the effort when practicing magic. Hearing Master Huang's words, Xiao Lin's face was full of excitement. She almost knelt down in front of him. Master Huang, you're too amazing. Please accept me as your disciple. Chapter 306. This, Master Huang's face showed some hesitation. As the daughter of the Qin gang's leader, Xiao Lin was very rich, very rich. The reason why Grandmaster Huang agreed to come here was because he wanted to use Xiao Lin's relationship with Xiao Lin to join the Qin gang. This way, he would be able to receive the Qin gang's nurturing and obtain a lot of cultivation resources. Just as Master Huang was about to put on an act and nod his head in agreement, he heard a faint voice. His strength is not that great. Even if you become his disciple, you won't be able to learn much. Instead, in my opinion, he wants to get something from you. Everyone turned their heads and saw that the one who spoke was Li Changsheng. When Qi Xian heard Li Changsheng's words, it was too late to stop him. One had to know that Xiao Lin had been searching for immortality and Tao all these years. She was extremely obsessed with cultivators and would never allow anyone to disrespect the cultivation world. Sure enough, when she heard Li Changxing's words, she immediately turned her head and glared at Li Changxing. Shut up. Who are you to comment on Master Huang's status? Don't think that you're a martial arts expert. If you dare to talk nonsense again, I'll make sure you suffer. My Qin gang has 30,000 disciples. Are you afraid? Hearing Li Changxing's words, Qi Xian hurriedly explained, Sister Xiaolin, Mr. Li didn't mean anything else. At this moment, Master Huang also looked coldly at Li Changxing. His eyes were cold, but there was a smile on his face. May I know who this little brother is? I'm Li Changxing. Li Changxing said indifferently, not caring about Master Huang at all. Master Huang frowned slightly. He was a little confused about Li Changxing's identity. Sung Buxiong, who was next to him, said, This is a martial arts expert. He's quite skilled, but he doesn't know how magical your spells are. Hearing that he was not a cultivator, Master Huang was immediately relieved. He put on an act and said, May I know what brotherly meant by what you said just now? Although this Huang's Dao is lowly, I believe that I can still teach Miss Xia. Is that so? I don't think you're worthy. Li Changxing spoke again. Charlene was about to explode, while Qi Xian was helpless to the extreme. Master Huang had a bad temper to begin with. At this moment, his face had turned purple, and a faint aura was rising from his body. The temperature in the room had dropped to the freezing point. Qi Xian and Tsing Buxiong instantly found it difficult to breathe. Xiaolin's physique was weaker, and her blood and qi surged up. Her body began to tremble, unable to withstand such terrifying pressure. Grandmaster Huang is angry. Fear appeared in Charlene's eyes. Li, hurry up and apologize to Grandmaster Huang. Charlene's lips trembled as she spoke. Master Huang had a sneer on his face. He purposely released such an imposing aura to intimidate everyone. Hula. A few seconds later, the aura disappeared, and everyone returned to normal. Xiaolin's face was pale as she heaved a sigh of relief. She clasped her fists and said, Thank you, Grandmaster, for your concern. Please retract your thaumaturgy. Master Huang nodded mysteriously. In fact, with his strength, he could only release this kind of aura for a few seconds at most. After a long time, the true qi in his body would not be able to support it. He looked at Li Changxing with a dignified expression. Do you think I'm not worthy this time? Unworthy? Of course not. Li Changxing said coldly. You. Master Huang couldn't wait to slap Li Changxing to death. However, he had just used a little of his thaumaturgy, and his true qi was insufficient. He knew that Li Changxing was a powerful martial artist, so he held back and didn't dare to attack. Grandmaster Huang, he just said that the array you set up was very simple, and that he could understand it with one look. Tsing Buxiong was afraid that Grandmaster Huang would let Li Changxing go, so he added fuel to the fire. Is that so? Grandmaster Huang sized up Li Changxing a few times, and after confirming that Li Changxing wasn't an immortal cultivator, he couldn't help but reveal a hypocritical smile. In that case, Mr. Li is also a Taoist master? Since you don't like my spirit-gathering array, why don't you set one up for everyone to see? Let us admire and learn from it. Li Changxing sneered in his heart. How could he not notice Grandmaster Huang's probing gaze just now? How could a mere Grandmaster Huang detect the depth of his strength? Since he had already decided to help Qi Xian, he naturally would help until the end. He nodded and said, Okay, then I'll set up an array for you to learn. Qi Xian was completely speechless. This Mr. Li really dared to say anything. Sung Buxiong also shook his head, thinking that this kid really didn't know his limits. Grandmaster Huang was so angry that his beard trembled. This little brat actually said that he would set up an array for him to learn. Who did he think he was? He took a deep breath and suppressed the anger in his heart. He took the initiative to step aside and made an inviting gesture. I wonder what this little brother is going to use to set up an array. I can't lend you my flag. Although Grandmaster Huang didn't think that Li Changxing really knew how to set up an array, he still felt that he had to be careful. This flag was a set of treasures passed down from his sect. If he didn't have this treasure flag, with his strength, he wouldn't be able to set up a spirit-gathering formation. If Li Changsheng really did know a little about formations and borrowed his flag to set up the formation, then he would have no choice but to suffer in silence. Isn't it just a few lousy flags? I don't need them at all. Just find me a few ordinary stones. What? Grandmaster Huang's face turned purple. He had spent so much effort to take out his sex treasures to set up an array, but in the other party's mouth, it was as easy as playing house. This was simply a humiliation to him. Moreover, to set up an array with ordinary stones was unheard of. Only a finger-profound realm expert could turn something rotten into something magical, but that was impossible. A finger-profound realm expert hadn't appeared for thousands of years. How old was Li Changsheng? Moreover, he couldn't sense any aura of a cultivator from him. However, what he didn't know was that even though Li Changsheng wasn't a finger-profound realm expert, he was once an existence that was countless times stronger than a finger-profound realm expert. Wouldn't a tiny formation be as easy as flipping his hand? This guy is really boasting to the heavens. Xiaolin felt that her mind was a little numb. She looked at Qi Xian reproachfully. Qi Xian's face was also a little red. This Mr. Li seemed to like to boast too much. He even casually used a stone to set up an array. However, when he saw the look on Grandmaster Huang's face, he was secretly delighted. Li Changsheng was probably deliberately using this method to anger Grandmaster Huang. If that was the case, then his goal had been achieved. All right, let's begin. Grandmaster Huang couldn't be bothered with Li Changsheng. This was a guy who didn't know anything at all and pretended to know. Talking to him would only make him angrier. In the next moment, Li Changsheng's gaze searched around the villa and then walked towards the fish tank. Everyone looked puzzled, wondering what he was going to do. He walked to the fish tank and reached his hand into the tank, grabbing some of the decorative pebbles at the bottom of the tank. Is he really going to use stones to set up an array? Everyone felt a sense of absurdity in their hearts. They saw Li Changsheng fish out the stones from the fish tank and put them on the ground. Then, he pulled out the flags that Grandmaster Huang had set up one by one and casually threw them on the ground. These were Grandmaster Huang's treasures, but Li Changsheng disdainfully threw them aside like trash. Grandmaster Huang's face twitched. If he wasn't waiting for Li Changsheng to make a fool of himself, he wouldn't have been able to resist attacking Li Changsheng. However, Charlene's eyes showed some distress. It wasn't easy for Grandmaster Huang to set up a spirit-gathering array. Although they had agreed beforehand that this spirit-gathering array would only be used for 7 days to let her experience the feeling of absorbing spiritual energy, it was a very precious opportunity for her to be able to absorb spiritual energy for 7 days. Now that Li Changsheng had pulled it out, what if Grandmaster Huang got angry and went back on his word and didn't set up the spirit-gathering array? Everyone's mood was different. Li Changsheng directly picked up the pebbles on the ground and casually threw them in a place after a few steps. One of the pebbles even fell under the sofa and was casually taken out by Li Changsheng and thrown at his feet. This action made Qi Xian feel even more desperate. Wasn't this playing around? How was this setting up an array? If he could set up an array by casually throwing a few stones, then he would be an array master in the world. Not only Qi Xian, but everyone thought so. A few minutes later, Li Changsheng finished throwing all the stones in his hand. He clapped his hands, then picked up the napkin on the coffee table to wipe the water stains on it, and said, "It's done." Huh! Grandmaster Huang couldn't help but laugh out loud. Sung Buxiong also laughed, and tears came out of his eyes. Meanwhile, Charlene was angrily staring at Qi Xian. "Brother Xian, is this the person you brought me?" Qi Xian opened his mouth, but couldn't refute. He looked up at Li Changsheng and said with a bitter smile, "Mr. Li Changsheng, leave quickly. Don't embarrass yourself here." He regretted it so much that his intestines turned green. If he had known, he wouldn't have brought Li Changsheng here. Chapter 307. Originally, he wanted to use Li Changsheng to curry favor with Xiaolin, but now, he had gone for wool and come home shorn. Not only did he fail to curry favor with Xiao Lin, but he had also thoroughly offended Xiao Lin and lost all face. Why should I leave? Didn't you feel the power of my array? Li Changsheng said in a serious tone. Power? Bullsh asterisk T power. Sung Buxiong couldn't help but curse. You just threw a few stones, and you really think it's an array? Do you think we're idiots? Aren't you an idiot? The corner of Li Changsheng's mouth curled up. You're courting death. Sung Buxiong raised his hand, while Li Changsheng clenched his fist, making cracking sounds. Sung Buxiong then remembered that although Li Changsheng wasn't a cultivator, he was a martial arts expert. Although he had learned martial arts, he didn't dare to fight with Li Changsheng. He couldn't help but look at Master Huang for help. In his opinion, only an expert like Master Huang could subdue Li Changsheng. Master Huang had long been angered by Li Changsheng. In addition, his true qi had almost recovered. Just as he raised his hand and was about to attack, Xiao Lin suddenly exclaimed, Look, what's that? Everyone turned their heads and saw that there was a sudden gust of wind at the place where Li Changsheng had thrown the stone. Then, the breeze kept spinning in the middle of the stones. They could feel something like water rushing in from all directions and gathering in the hall. Then, the entire hall was filled with a gray mist. What's going on? Even Sing Buxiong's face was filled with shock. Qi Xian, Xiao Lin, and the bodyguards standing at the door were also surprised. They didn't know what was going on. Only Master Huang's hand began to tremble. He exclaimed, This is spiritual qi. Spiritual qi turned into mist. It's amazing. I can't believe I've seen such a magical spirit gathering array in my lifetime. Everyone didn't hear what Master Huang said clearly, but they heard the words spirit gathering array clearly. Master Huang, do you mean that this kid used the stones in the fish tank to set up a spirit gathering array? Sing Buxiong's face was filled with disbelief. Who knew that Master Huang didn't pay any attention to him? Instead, he walked in front of Li Changsheng and knelt down with a plop. Huang Qingjin has eyes but failed to recognize Mount Tai. Greetings, immortal master. From Huang Qingjin's point of view, being able to use ordinary stones to form a spirit gathering formation and turn something rotten into something magical was something that only profound finger experts could do. Li Changsheng was able to do it, which meant that Li Changsheng possessed the methods of a profound finger expert. Even if it wasn't an immortal realm expert, it was definitely a high and mighty figure. Facing such an important figure, Huang Qingjin was both terrified and excited. He was like a commoner meeting an emperor or a mortal meeting a god. He knelt before Li Changsheng. At this moment, even the other three understood something. Li Changsheng was the true expert who had hidden his true strength. Get up, Li Changsheng said indifferently. He would not go so far as to bicker with such a small character. Everything he had done was because Qi Xian was Qi Yu's son, and Li Changsheng had casually helped him. Qi Xian's gaze towards Li Changsheng completely changed. It turned out that Li Changsheng wasn't just a martial Dao expert, but also a cultivator. He couldn't help but look at Sung Buxiong with pride. Sure enough, Sung Buxiong's expression was extremely ugly. Master Huang, what's going on? Xiao Lin still couldn't react. Qi Xian brought this ordinary-looking young man over, but he was actually a cultivator that even Master Huang had a bow to. Mr. Li is a cultivator and a true expert. Compared to him, it's like comparing a candlelight to the moon. Xiao Lin was completely shocked after hearing Master Huang's words. So powerful. Master Huang, you're not joking, right? At this moment, Sung Buxiong calmed down and asked. Grandmaster Huang was an expert that he had asked around and invited over. He had seen many of Grandmaster Huang's abilities and was full of admiration for him. However, now that he saw Grandmaster Huang kneeling before a young man like Li Changsheng, doubt arose in his heart. Could it be that this Master Huang is a fake? That's why he doesn't dare to offend Li Changsheng, a martial Dao expert. Thinking of this, he increasingly felt that his idea was correct. He couldn't help but say loudly, Master Huang, it seems that all of us have been deceived by you. Qi Xian looked puzzled, wondering what Sung Buxiong was trying to do. Big brother Sung, what do you mean by that? Xiao Lin looked puzzled. We've all been deceived by these two. I never believed that there were cultivators in this world, but this Grandmaster Huang played a few tricks to deceive us. And this Li Changsheng, he casually threw a few stones and set up some kind of formation. Even if you beat me to death, I wouldn't believe it. They're both liars. Little sister Charlene, I was blind and almost caused you to be deceived. Hearing Tseng Buxiong's words, doubts appeared in Xiaolin's eyes. Even Qi Xian looked puzzled. It was true that Li Changsheng knew martial arts, but he never said that he knew magic. Tseng Buxiong's words seemed to make sense. Li Changsheng didn't say anything when he saw the questioning eyes around him, but Master Huang couldn't stand it anymore. He stared at Tseng Buxiong and said in a cold voice, "Young Master Tseng, do you know the consequences of saying this?" He was invited by Tseng Buxiong through many connections. Now that he was suspected by Tseng Buxiong, he was very angry. Being stared at by Master Huang, Tseng Buxiong felt a little guilty. But when he remembered that this Master Huang was a fake, he immediately regained his confidence. He immediately raised his head and said, "What? Do you think I will be fooled by you again? I have the Hong sect behind me. You're just a fake. Get out of here now." Master Huang was enraged. He took a step forward and floated in front of Tseng Buxiong like a gust of wind. Tseng Buxiong was about to say something when Master Huang's palm landed on his chest. It looked like a light hit, but Tseng Buxiong flew back more than 10 meters and crashed into the villa's huge tempered glass. Kacha! The tempered glass shattered and scattered across the ground. Tseng Buxiong fell to the ground with the tempered glass. When he got up, his clothes were in a mess and his face was bleeding profusely. Master Huang didn't dare to kill Tseng Buxiong because of his identity as a member of the Hong sect. Otherwise, Tseng Buxiong would have been a corpse by now. Even so, everyone at the scene was completely stunned. Regardless of whether it was magic or martial arts, it proved that Master Huang was a man of true ability. Now, do you still think I'm a fake? Master Huang stared at Tseng Buxiong with a sinister look, not bothering to hide the coldness in his eyes. Chapter 308. Tseng Buxiong shrunk his neck in fear. He thought he was going to die just now, but other than some scratches on his body, he didn't suffer any serious injuries. That was what scared him the most. As the son of an elder of the Hong sect, although his kung fu wasn't that great, he still practiced it. Naturally, he knew that the strength just now was enough to kill a bull. However, he only suffered some superficial wounds, which meant that the opponent's control of his strength had reached a terrifying level. This was enough to prove that this Master Huang wasn't a fake. Tseng Buxiong opened his mouth. However, he heard Master Huang's cold voice. "I've already punished you for your disrespect to me. However, not only did you disrespect me, but you also disrespected Mr. Li. Now, slap yourself 20 times as punishment." "What?" Tseng Buxiong's face suddenly turned red. Slapping himself in the face in front of so many people, especially in front of Charlene, his sweetheart. Doing such a shameful thing was worse than killing him. "What? You don't want to? If you don't want to, then I'll do it myself." Without waiting for Tseng Buxiong's reply, Master Huang took a step forward and floated to Tseng Buxiong's side. Then, he grabbed Tseng Buxiong's hair and lifted him up like a chicken. Then, he slapped Tseng Buxiong's face 20 times. When he let go, Tseng Buxiong's entire face was swollen like a pig's head. Seeing Tseng Buxiong's miserable appearance, Qi Xian couldn't help but laugh out loud. "That's just too ugly." Tseng Buxiong was ashamed and angry at the same time. He only felt that the sky had darkened. In fact, it was no wonder he felt this way, because his cheeks were swollen and his eyes were narrowed into slits. Naturally, he couldn't see much light. Charlene couldn't help but glare at Qi Xian. She felt that he shouldn't be laughing at Tseng Buxiong at this time. However, the next moment, she couldn't help but laugh out loud, because Tseng Buxiong now looked too much like a pig. "Mr. Li, I wonder if you're satisfied?" Master Huang looked at Li Changsheng. Li Changsheng was the son of an elder of the Hong sect. With Master Huang's strength, he didn't dare to offend him too much. If it wasn't for the fact that Li Changsheng had also offended Li Changsheng, Master Huang might have just taught him a lesson. It's done. Li Changsheng nodded. At this moment, Charlene hurriedly rushed to Li Changsheng and knelt down. Mr. Li, please accept me as your disciple. This again. Li Changsheng was speechless. He raised his hand, and an invisible force flew out and helped Charlene up. At this moment, Charlene's eyes were filled with astonishment. This was a true master of cultivation. You don't have to kneel to me, and you don't have to acknowledge me as your master. Seeing that you are Qi Xian's friend, I can teach you a set of entry-level mental cultivation methods. But whether you can get started or not depends on whether you and your cultivation have the potential. With that, Li Changsheng waved his hand. Immediately, little stars lit up in Charlene's eyes because in that instant, a set of incantations appeared in her mind out of thin air. It's amazing. This was truly a celestial being. Please accept my bow. Xiaolin's mind was still a little blank, but Li Changsheng once again used his magic power to support her. I'm not imparting this cultivation method to you for nothing. I heard that your family has a ginseng passed down from your ancestors. I want it. Li Changsheng spoke directly, not hiding his purpose. A cultivator's mind was clear. Although the cultivation method he imparted to her was not that profound, it was definitely worth the price of ginseng. He was not afraid that she would go back on her words. If he could impart the cultivation method, he could naturally take it back. Hearing Li Changsheng's words, Charlene was stunned. You want that ginseng? Why, you're not willing. Li Changsheng furrowed his brows slightly. No. Charlene hurriedly waved her hand. I'm willing, of course I'm willing. Isn't it just a ginseng? It doesn't matter. Okay, take me there now. That ginseng isn't Suzhou. I didn't bring it here. Let's return to Suzhou now. Charlene was now full of admiration for Li Changsheng. At the same time, she was also somewhat impressed by Qi Xian. This made Qi Xian very happy. At the same time, he was very grateful to Li Changsheng and felt a little apologetic toward Li Changsheng. Li Changsheng was so powerful and resourceful. He was even willing to help him, but he actually doubted him. It was really wrong of him. Li Changsheng and Xiaolin left, leaving only Master Huang and Sung Buxiong in the villa. In fact, Master Huang wanted to learn something from Li Changsheng, but Li Changsheng did not show any intention of taking him along. Naturally, he did not dare to follow casually. It was the first time Master Huang had met a master like Li Changsheng. A master like this could kill at will. At this level, many rules of the secular world could no longer be restrained. He did not dare to anger Li Changsheng. After Li Changsheng and the others left, Sung Buxiong could not help but say, Master Huang, even if I misunderstood you, you didn't have to be so cruel. You embarrassed me in front of so many people. I'm the son of an elder of the Hong sect. Sung Buxiong was really angry. He had lost face in front of the woman he loved. Although this Master Huang was resourceful, the Hong sect was not to be trifled with. Sure enough, after hearing Sung Buxiong's words, Master Huang's face showed some fear. He immediately said, Young Master Tsung, you think I'm punishing you, but you don't know that I saved you. What do you mean? Sung Buxiong was confused. That Mr. Li just now, don't be fooled by his young age. He casually threw a few stones and set up a spirit-gathering formation. This means that his strength is very likely at the profound realm. Maybe you don't know what the profound realm means, but I can tell you this. He can cast a spell from 1,000 miles away and take your head off. Have you heard of the 100 Steps flying sword? A flying sword came from afar and pierced your heart. If you offend such a person, you won't even know how you died. Although I punished you just now, I also appeased Mr. Li's anger. I was saving you. After hearing Master Huang's words, Sung Buxiong was stunned. He stammered, Is he really that scary? Do you think I would lie to you? Master Huang said with a look of anger. In fact, he was exaggerating a little. Killing someone from 1,000 miles away did exist, but that was already considered an immortal skill. Seeing Sung Buxiong's resentment turned into gratitude, Master Huang heaved a sigh of relief. Finally, I don't have to suffer the Hong sect's revenge. Although I exaggerated a little, This Mr. Li is really something. Master Huang thought to himself. This was the first time he had seen someone who could casually set up a spirit-gathering array. Looks like I have to suck up to this Mr. Li next time. It's better than sucking up to this Master Huang. Sing Buxiong thought to himself. Chapter 309. However, Zheng Buxiong's thoughts had changed at this moment. Li Changsheng and the others took a car all the way to Suzhou. An hour later, they finally arrived at the Suzhou villa. Entering the courtyard, Charlene directly ordered the housekeeper in charge of the place. Open the safe and take out the jade box. The jade box could protect the quality of the ginseng and prevent its spirit qi from dissipating. Therefore, older ginseng were usually stored in jade boxes. The butlers seemed to be in a difficult position. This 1,000-year-old ginseng was the treasure of the Xia family, passed down from their ancestors. The reason why it was not placed in the Xia family's residence, but in Suzhou, was actually because they were afraid that someone would find out and rob it. This housekeeper was actually a super expert of the Qin gang. He followed Charlene's father and was mainly responsible for guarding the ginseng after he grew old. What's wrong, Uncle Kong? My words don't work. Charlene frowned. She was usually very respectful to this Uncle Kong, but today was different. She had been searching for him for nearly 10 years, and her wish was finally about to be fulfilled. She had completely relied on the ginseng to please Li Changsheng. She could not tolerate Uncle Kong dropping the ball at this time. Miss, if you want to take the ginseng, you should at least tell me what it is for, right? Uncle Kong still insisted. Moreover, this ginseng was the Xia family's heirloom and had to be approved by the gang leader. I brought this ginseng to give to Mr. Li. Mr. Li is a cultivation expert, Charlene said eloquently. In her opinion, it was just a ginseng. It was simply too worth it to exchange for Li Changsheng's cultivation technique. However, Uncle Kang's face could not help but darken. Him? A cultivation expert? Miss, have you been deceived? As he spoke, he looked coldly at Li Changsheng. I don't care where you're from or what your purpose is. I advise you not to touch the ginseng. Go back obediently, and I'll pretend that nothing happened. Otherwise, next year today will be the anniversary of your death. Uncle Kong had followed the leader of the Qin gang all his life and had a murderous aura about him. As soon as he finished speaking, a cold aura instantly filled the place. Even Qi Xin couldn't help but tense up. He knew that he was no match for Uncle Kong. However, facing Uncle Kang's covetous gaze, Li Changsheng did not say anything and only looked at Charlene. Choose between the ginseng and the cultivation technique. If you want the ginseng, I will immediately take the cultivation technique. I will not disturb you. With Li Changsheng's strength, even if he took it by force, no one would be able to stop him. However, he was a person who sought peace of mind. If an expert who possessed strength could burn, kill, and plunder, then the world would have long been in chaos. I want the cultivation technique. I want the cultivation technique. Xiaolin was afraid that Li Changsheng would go back on his words and hurriedly said, Uncle Kong S's Uncle Kong use Uncle Kong use you Uncle Kong's you Uncle Kong use. To you, right, Uncle? That's Uncle the time. After saying that, he stood there. Seeing that Li Changsheng didn't react, he moved the dagger forward. The sharp blade was already pressing against Li Changsheng's neck. Just a little more and it would cut his throat. With your strength, you can't even react to my attack. How dare you call yourself a master? Get lost. Uncle Kong said coldly, his eyes full of disdain. Just now, when he tried to test Li Changsheng did not move from the beginning to the end. In his opinion, it was obvious that Li Changsheng did not react. A guy who could not even react to his attack. The title of an expert was simply ridiculous. Take your dagger away, or I'll make you regret it. Li Changsheng said coldly. What? Uncle Kong curled his lips. Are you addicted to role-playing? Do you really think you're a master? I'll count to 3. If you don't get lost, I'll let you die here. With that, Uncle Kong began to count. 3, 2. Just as he was about to count to 1, bang! The gate of the courtyard was kicked open, and then an old man strode in. The old man was wearing a tang suit and had a majestic momentum. Especially when he came in, all the bodyguards of the Xia family were lying on the ground behind him. "Who are you?" Uncle Kong withdrew the dagger from Li Changsheng's neck and looked at him warily. If Li Changsheng was just a fake master, Uncle Kong definitely did not dare to underestimate him. The bodyguards of the Xia family were all selected from the Qin gang. They were good men, but now they were all lying on the ground, and he did not even hear the sound of fighting from the beginning to the end. There was only one possibility, and that was that the other party had knocked these bodyguards to the ground in a very short period of time. This was something that even he could not do. "Ha! I'm Yin Shuangying, the head of the Qingshang sword sect." The other party introduced himself. On the other hand, Uncle Kang's face was full of astonishment. "Qingshang sword sect? Isn't it a Jianghu sect that only appears on TV? Does such a sect really exist in reality?" Looking at Uncle Kang's dumbfounded expression, Yin Shuangying simply smiled coldly. "I'm going to attend the Sword Dao meet, and I happened to pass by Suzhou. I heard that the Xia family of the Qin gang has a ginseng that has been passed down from their ancestors. I've taken a fancy to that ginseng. Now give it to me." As soon as he spoke, Uncle Kang's face immediately turned cold. He initially thought that no one knew that the Xia family had hidden the ginseng in Suzhou, but now it had attracted such a strong enemy. "That ginseng is the heirloom of the Xia family. I'm here to guard it under the orders of the gang leader. Whoever wants to snatch it away has to go through me first." Uncle Kong took a step forward with an icy cold aura. He was definitely an expert. However, Yin Shuangying simply smiled coldly and said, "You're asking for death." After saying that, he waved his hand and an invisible sword energy was emitted. Before Uncle Kong could even do anything, his shoulder had already been pierced by the sword energy, and his clothes were stained red with blood. How is that possible? Uncle Kang's face was full of horror. He had already overestimated his opponent's strength as much as possible, but he didn't expect that he still underestimated him. Besides, he thought that he was a top expert in the Jianghu after following the gang leader of the Qin gang around. However, he didn't have time to react at all. The most terrifying thing was that he was injured just by pointing his finger at him from 3 meters away. Is this the legendary sword Qi? Uncle Kong was completely shocked. Hand over the ginseng or die. Yin Shuangying also looked at Uncle Kong coldly and condescendingly, as if Uncle Kong was just a nobody in his eyes. Uncle Kong wanted to say something tough, but when he met Yin Shuangying's icy cold gaze, he immediately lowered his head and nodded. "Okay, I'll remember that you stole the treasure of the Qin gang." Chapter 310. With that, he turned around and was about to enter the villa to take out the ginseng. He could sense the murderous intent in Yin Shuangying's eyes and knew that if he refused, Yin Shuangying would attack mercilessly. Although Uncle Kong was loyal to the Xia family, he would not sacrifice his life for a ginseng. "Uncle Kong, how can you do this? Didn't you just say that you would guard the ginseng for my father?" Charlene blurted out. However, Uncle Kong stopped and said, "I'm here to protect the ginseng under the orders of my master. But the other party is too powerful for us to stop. I'm doing this because I'm willing to compromise to protect myself and you." Mississippi. Hearing Uncle Kang's words, Charlene shook her head. "Uncle Kong, I've already promised to give the ginseng to Mr. Li, so you can't give it to him. Besides, with Mr. Li around, we don't have to be afraid of him. He's very powerful," Charlene said. She first listened to Qi Xian talk about how powerful Li Changsheng was, then saw Master Huang's respect for Li Changsheng. She personally experienced Li Changsheng's magic and imprinted a cultivation method in her mind. In her opinion, these were all immortal-like means. "Him!" Uncle Kong shook his head. "Miss, don't be silly. You've been deceived by him. He's not a master. He's just a big liar. He couldn't even dodge one of my moves just now. If I want to kill him, 1 second is enough. How can we expect such a person to help us?" Hearing Uncle Kang's words, Charlene couldn't refute. Indeed, Li Changsheng was easily subdued by Uncle Kong just now, which was also a fact. Is he really a liar? But what's with the cultivation method in my mind? Charlene suddenly fell into a dilemma. At this moment, Qi Xian was dumbfounded on the spot. He was a martial artist who pursued the highest realm of martial arts. When he saw Yin Shuangying attack just now, he felt as if he had been struck by lightning and stood there in a daze. He pierced Uncle Kang's shoulder from 3 meters away. This technique was too amazing. At this moment, he seemed to have seen the door of a new world open to him. The highest realm of martial arts, the legendary sword Qi. Qi Xian muttered to himself. If Yin Shuangying was not an enemy, he would have knelt on the ground and begged Yin Shuangying to take him in as a disciple. As for Li Changsheng, he was indeed very powerful. However, he felt that he was no match for Yin Shuangying. A proud smile appeared on Yin Shuangying's face. 1,000-year-old ginseng was definitely a treasure in this world where spiritual qi was scarce. He did not expect that he would be able to obtain it so easily. However, this was completely within his expectations. Emir Qinggang was nothing more than a group of ordinary people. He had casually revealed a bit of his strength, and it was enough to subdue everyone. He was also very satisfied with Uncle Kang's cooperation. He was initially a little worried about participating in the Sword Dao meet this time because there were several old opponents, especially the sect leader of Shu Mountain, Sima Chongkong. He heard that Sima Chongkong had already reached the peak of the Khanate realm, and he was not confident of defeating him. However, if the quality of the Xia clan's ginseng was high enough, it would be able to raise his strength by a notch before the Sword Dao conference. Then, he might be able to suppress Sima Chongkong during the conference, allowing the Qingchang sword sect to completely overshadow the Mount Shu sword sect and become the leader of the Sword Dao alliance. At the thought of this, Yin Shuangying almost burst out laughing. Xiaolin did not stop Uncle Kong again because she felt that what he said seemed to make sense. Since Li Changsheng was so strong, how could he have been subdued by Uncle Kong in one move? Besides, Yin Shuangying was indeed very powerful. Li Changsheng's power lay in his magical means, which was far less impactful than Yin Shuangying's. Bloody, powerful, and domineering. Xiaolin even felt that Li Changsheng's cultivation method was useless. It would be great if she could become Yin Shuangying's disciple and learn his cultivation method. Soon, Uncle Kong took out the ginseng. It was contained in a white jade box, and there was still some cold air on it. It was a rare cold jade that was the best material for storing ginseng. When Uncle Kong opened the cold jade box and revealed the lifelike ginseng inside, Yin Shuangying's eyes lit up immediately. He originally thought that the ginseng was at most 2,000 years old, but now it seemed that it was probably more than 5,000 years old. I've picked up a treasure this time. Yin Shuangying was already a little impatient. At this time, Xiaolin suddenly took a step forward, bowed to Yin Shuangying, and said, "Senior, this ginseng is my Xia family's heirloom. Can you accept me as your disciple for the sake of this ginseng?" Yin Shuangying was stunned when he heard this. He looked at Xiaolin up and down and finally shook his head. "Your physique is not good enough to meet my standards for accepting a disciple." Hearing Yin Shuangying's refusal, Xiaolin's face showed a little disappointment, but she continued to say, "Since Senior is unwilling to accept me as your disciple, can you teach me the cultivation method? This ginseng will be my reward, and you don't have to bear the name of snatching it." Yin Shuangying's face suddenly showed interest when he heard this. Indeed, the dignified Qingchang sect leader came to snatch a secular family's ginseng. Although the cultivation world was very cruel, he usually boasted of being a righteous sect, so it was inevitable that people would laugh at him. If he could pay a simple cultivation method in exchange for the ginseng, it would not be a loss. He definitely would not pass on the real cultivation method of the Qingchang sect to Xiaolin, but the Qingchang sect had collected many martial arts of various sects, which was already a treasure for ordinary people. At this time, Qi Xian finally reacted. When he heard that Xiaolin wanted to give the ginseng to Yin Shuangying in exchange for the Qingchang sect cultivation method, although he also thought that Yin Shuangying's cultivation method was much more valuable than Li Changxing's. Xiaolin had already promised Li Changxing. How could she go back on her words? So he said, Xiaolin, you can't do this. You've already promised Mr. Li in advance. If you do this, you'll violate your previous promise. Moreover, Mr. Li has already passed on the cultivation method to you. Hearing Qi Xian's words, Xiaolin shook her head directly. It's obvious that Mr. Li is not as powerful as Senior Yin Shuangying, and the cultivation method he passed on to me is probably not mainstream. How can it compare to Senior Yin Shuangying's cultivation method? Of course, I have to sell it for a good price. But you've already agreed with Mr. Li. Mr. Li passed on the cultivation method to you. Qi Xian spoke again. At most, I'll ask him to take it back. With Senior Yin Shuangying's cultivation method, do you think I want a lousy cultivation method he gave me? This, Qi Xian didn't know what to say. At this time, Yin Shuangying also understood that the little girl of the Xia family had already used the ginseng to exchange for the cultivation method with someone else. However, he didn't care. He was determined to get the ginseng, and in his opinion, no one could stop him. He looked at Li Changxing. Boy, the ginseng that the little girl promised to give you now belongs to me. Do you have any objections? Yin Shuangying was very confident. In his eyes, Li Changxing was just an ordinary person who had used some means to cheat the ginseng. Now that he had spoken, how could Li Changxing dare to refuse? Although Qi Xian felt that Xiaolin's actions were inappropriate, he didn't continue speaking because it was obvious that even if Xiaolin gave the ginseng to Li Changxing wouldn't be able to keep it. Yin Shuangying was too powerful. Now, everyone thought that Li Changxing would choose to give in. However, they saw Li Changxing speak slowly. Of course, I have objections. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.